Chapter 1246. Sister, I'm not messing around. I really want to learn cultivation from Brother Jiang Fei and the others. Wang Xiaojie struggled desperately. You're still messing around? Don't you see that there are so many big shots present? I understand why you want to learn cultivation, but you have to wait until Jiang Fei is done with his work. If you mess around like this now, not only will it not work, but it will also annoy him. Wang Jin whispered. Hearing this, Wang Xiaojie immediately became obedient. Although you have obtained freedom, you still have no choice. At this moment, Lu Zheng looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others. Wang Yangfeng and the others frowned and looked up at Lu Zheng, looking a little displeased. Although the Grand Valley Master Sea of Qi has been destroyed, when Qin Feiyang took him out of the ancient castle just now, he could have destroyed all of your bloodline power immediately. But do you know why he didn't do that? Lu Zheng asked. Why? Wang Yangfeng frowned. Because you are the men of sacrifice trained by the Imperial Preceptor. He is looking for an opportunity to bring you back to the Imperial Preceptor. And you have seen the forces controlled by the Imperial Preceptor. A few of his descendants are 9-star combat emperors. In fact, this is not a big deal. He also controls the law enforcement hall, and the people inside are all combat emperors. In the face of such an Imperial Preceptor, are you confident that you can escape from his pursuit? I can tell you very responsibly that without Qin Feiyang's protection, you can't escape from his evil clutches at all. Lu Zheng sneered. Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other. It seemed that the Imperial Preceptor they knew was just the tip of the iceberg. Wang Yangfeng glanced at Lu Zheng, then looked at Qin Feiyang. She cupped her hands and said, "May I ask, what is the relationship between young Master Qin and the Imperial Preceptor?" Qin Feiyang said, "We had a good relationship when we were young, but now we have fallen out and are irreconcilable." Wang Yangfeng pondered for a while, then took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "If young Master Qin can really treat each of us well, I am willing to lead everyone to follow you. I swear, if I can't do it, may the heavens strike me down." Qin Feiyang said. "Greetings, young master." Wang Yangfeng immediately got down on one knee and said respectfully. He was a decisive person. The red-haired old man and the others looked at each other and knelt down in unison. "Greetings, young master." Since Wang Yangfeng and the group of 9-star combat emperors had all surrendered, the others naturally had no objections. They all knelt on the ground. Qin Feiyang placed his hands behind his back and glanced at the group of people. A bright smile gradually crept onto his face. With the addition of this group of people, his foundation had undoubtedly soared. Now, as long as a few more false gods were born, he would have the capital to contend with the Imperial Palace and the main tower. Until then, the Forgotten Continent and the Great Qin Empire would no longer belong to the Imperial Palace and the main tower, as well as him, Qin Feiyang. Wang Yangfeng stood up and asked, "Young master, where do you plan to settle us down? You all know that place." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and everyone on the island instantly disappeared. Inside the ancient pagoda, the underground world was still there. Towering mountains and lofty ridges, fierce beasts galloping. On a plain, tens of thousands of people suddenly appeared. It was Qin Feiyang and his group. "This place is," appearing here again, Wang Yangfeng and the others' faces changed drastically. Qin Feiyang said, "Don't worry, this place is now under my control. You can live here without worry." Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. "All right. Everyone, quickly rebuild your home. Elder Wang, come with me for a moment. I have something to ask you." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he walked towards the forest at the side. Wang Yangfeng hurriedly followed. Lu Hong and Lu Zheng curiously looked at the environment inside the ancient pagoda and also followed. A moment later, Qin Feiyang entered the forest and sat on a bluestone. What does young master want to ask? Wang Yangfeng stood in front of Qin Feiyang and asked. Qin Feiyang said, "Do any of you know the formula of the blood demon pill?" Wang Yangfeng shook his head and said, "In the past, the blood demon pill was personally refined by the Second Valley Master." "Then do you know what the blood demon pill is refined with?" Qin Feiyang said. "I don't know." Wang Yangfeng said. "Human flesh and blood." Qin Feiyang said. "What?" Wang Yangfeng's face turned pale. "The blood demon pill is a taboo. No matter where it is forbidden to refine it. So from now on, I don't want to see you take the blood demon pill anymore. And you should have a lot of blood demon pills left now. When you go back, you have to destroy all of them." Qin Feiyang said. "Yes." Wang Yangfeng said respectfully. "I'm not joking. You have to destroy all of them. If I find that someone is secretly hiding the blood demon pill, even if there's only one, I won't show mercy." Qin Feiyang said. "Understood." Wang Yangfeng nodded. "Although I don't have the blood demon pill, I will train a group of alchemists as soon as possible. By then, you won't lack battle chi pills." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Wang Yangfeng said, "Our village has produced many alchemists over the years, but we don't have a lot of medicinal herbs. That's for the best. As for the medicinal herbs, I will think of a way. Now, tell me in detail the specific strength of your people. For example, how many 9-star combat emperors are there?" Qin Feiyang said. Wang Yangfeng pondered for a moment and said proudly, "The overall strength of our village is quite good." "Really?" Qin Feiyang was looking forward to it. "Now, including me, our village has a total of 18 9-star combat emperors and 156 8-star combat emperors. As for the 7-star combat emperors, there are more than 500 of them." Wang Yangfeng said with a smile. "So many." Lu Hong was dumbfounded. Qin Feiyang was also quite surprised and asked, "How many people are there from 1-star combat emperors to 6-star combat emperors?" Wang Yangfeng said, "Roughly estimated, more than 2,000 people, and more than 3,000 people below the combat sage. More than 2,000 combat emperors." This time, even Qin Feiyang couldn't stay calm. Thinking back, in their small team, there was only one combat emperor, Yan Wei. Later, there were the 10 heroes of Qinghai. And this time, there were actually more than 2,000 combat emperors. He was about to faint. Isn't it just more than 2,000 combat emperors? What's there to fuss about? What a country bumpkin. However, looking at Qin Feiyang's silly look, Lu Zheng suddenly said with disdain. Qin Feiyang wasn't angry. He chuckled and said, "Their village has only existed for a few thousand years. Naturally, it can't be compared to your Lu family." "Lu family?" Wang Yangfeng looked at Lu Zheng curiously. Lu Zheng said proudly, "Our Lu family has tens of thousands of years of history." Wang Yangfeng's gaze trembled. With tens of thousands of years of history, there was actually such an ancient family in the world? Unbelievable. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yangfeng and asked, "How long have you been a 9-star combat emperor?" "Very long. I remember that I broke through more than 500 years ago." Wang Yangfeng said. "What?" Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Lu Hong's face was also filled with shock. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "If you broke through more than 500 years ago, why haven't you stepped into the combat god realm yet?" "I don't know either. But I heard from the Grand Valley Master that it's very difficult to break through to the combat god realm. He said that 1 in 10,000 people." Wang Yangfeng said. 1 in 10,000 people? Ridiculous. He has no idea how difficult it is to break through to the combat god realm. Let me tell you, it's already very rare for one person to step into the combat god realm in 10 million people. There are many people in this world who are trapped to death in the 9-star combat emperor realm. Lu Zheng snorted coldly. Qin Feiyang said, since you know so much, then do you know how to break through to the combat god realm? I don't know. Lu Zheng shook his head and said helplessly, I've asked second grandpa before, but not only did he not tell me, he even scolded me. Young people shouldn't bite off more than they can chew. I have to be down to earth. It's very annoying. It seems that it's really not easy to step into the combat god realm. Qin Feiyang whispered. It's not just not easy. It's even harder than ascending to the sky. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no combat gods in this world now. They're all fake gods. Lu Zheng's face was full of disdain. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I don't agree with that. Although there are indeed very few combat gods, it's not like there are none. Who? Lu Zheng was surprised. A snow python. Back then, when the Imperial Preceptor was under her hands, he didn't have the slightest ability to resist. I think she must be a true combat god. Other than her, there's another person. That's my uncle. Qin Feiyang laughed. When he was young, he had guessed that Uncle Yuan might be the War Emperor. However, when he stepped into the War Emperor, he realized that Uncle Yuan was even stronger than he had imagined. Until now, he was still unable to see through Uncle Yuan's strength. But from Uncle Yuan's attitude towards the Emperor, it wasn't hard to imagine. Because back then in the Imperial Palace, Uncle Yuan had mercilessly slapped the Emperor in front of everyone. Moreover, regardless of whether it was facing the State Preceptor or facing Mu Tianyang, Yuan Bo had an aloof and fearless attitude. This was enough to show that his true strength was definitely not inferior to the Imperial Preceptor and Mu Tianyang. The Imperial Preceptor was only a fake god. But when Mu Tianyang was at his peak, he was a true combat god. Qin Yuan, Snow Python. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Lu Zheng muttered to himself, his eyes flashing with an imperceptible light. Wang Yangfeng, on the other hand, had a face full of shock. In his opinion, a fake god was already inconceivable, but he didn't expect that a true combat god would actually exist in this world. Right. I forgot to tell you. Uncle Yuan came before. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Hong and said. When? Lu Hong was stunned and asked anxiously. Qin Feiyang said, when Renduxing and I were dealing with the Imperial Preceptor, but he has already left. It's a pity that I didn't get to see his glory. Lu Hong shook her head and sighed. There will be a chance in the future. Qin Feiyang laughed. Why did Qin Yuan come to find you? Lu Zheng suddenly asked. Qin Feiyang said, it's nothing, I just came to visit everyone. It seems that you have deep feelings for him. Chapter 1247. Of course. Ever since I was expelled from the Imperial Palace, it was Uncle Yuan who accompanied me and enlightened me. I've always treated him as my biological grandfather. Qin Feiyang said. He not only respected Uncle Yuan but also appreciated him. Do you mean that when you were in trouble, our Lu family didn't accompany you or enlighten me, and you treated us as strangers? Lu Zheng frowned. You're thinking too much. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. This guy really knew how to make a connection. I think that's what you're thinking. Lu Zheng pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel helpless. He looked at Wang Yangfeng and said with a smile, go and do your work. Okay. Wang Yangfeng nodded. Wait. Qin Feiyang said. Is there anything else? Wang Yangfeng looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, when you build your home, give me an open space in the middle. An open space? Wang Yangfeng was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, just do as I say. How big should it be? Wang Yangfeng asked. It's best if it's big. Qin Feiyang said. Understood. Wang Yangfeng nodded and turned to leave. What are you up to? Lu Hong was suspicious. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the tree of creation emerged. What's this? Lu Hong looked at the tree of creation curiously. However, Lu Zheng's eyes flashed with a bright light. Looking at Lu Zheng's eyes, Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked, You know? Where did you get this? Lu Zheng didn't answer but asked instead. Qin Feiyang said, In the ancestral tomb. Damn it! If I had known that there was a tree of creation inside, I wouldn't have listened to you and dug up the ancestral tomb. Lu Zheng was extremely upset. What's a tree of creation? Lu Hong asked. The tree of creation is a divine tree. The energy it emits can change a person's physique. It's not an exaggeration to say that even an idiot can slowly become a cultivation genius. Lu Zheng said. So magical? Lu Hong was shocked. It's that magical. Lu Zheng sighed helplessly. He had actually brushed past such a divine tree. It was too late for regrets. Lu Hong could not help but laugh. She turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, So, that empty space is reserved for the tree of creation? Qin Feiyang nodded and put away the tree of fortune. He pondered for a while and said, Although the tree of fortune can change their physique, the most important thing is still the herbs. This is indeed a difficult problem. Lu Hong said. In the past, they didn't have many people, so any random medicinal herbs would be enough for them to use for a while. But now, there were more than 10,000 people. Furthermore, there were more than 2,000 battle emperors. The amount of medicinal herbs needed for this was not a small amount. Suddenly, Lu Hong seemed to have thought of something. She raised her head and scanned the surroundings. Then, she looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Look at how big this place is. We can definitely open up a medicinal field here. Medicinal field. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. This suggestion was good. He had such an idea before, but there was no other way. The ancient castle could not grow medicinal herbs. The ancient pagoda was different. Not only was the space big, but there were also mountains and rivers here. It could be used to grow medicinal herbs. Do you know how big this space is? Lu Hong asked. I didn't know before, but after dripping blood to recognize it as the owner, I knew that the diameter of this place is a whole 100,000 miles. Qin Feiyang said. So big, Lu Hong was dumbfounded. Compared to this ancient pagoda, the ancient castle was simply a world of difference. Brother Jiang Fei. At this moment, Wang Xiaojia ran over. Wang Jin followed closely behind him. The situation is tense, retreat. Upon seeing Wang Jin, Lu Zheng hurriedly turned around and ran as if he had seen a ghost. What's the situation? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Lu Hong covered her mouth and laughed. You don't know, during the 4 months you were in seclusion, Wang Jin went to look for him every day. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and gloated. This is called trouble comes from the mouth. Let's see if he dares to talk nonsense in the future. Brother Jiang Fei. A moment later, Wang Xiaojia panted as he ran to Qin Feiyang's side. His small face was completely red. Greetings, young Master Qin. Wang Jin bowed. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. A few months had passed. Wang Jin had also completely walked out of the shadows. Lu Hong rubbed Wang Xiaojia's little head and said with a smile, His real name is Qin Feiyang, you can't call him Jiang Fei in the future, understand? Got it. Wang Xiaojia nodded. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, Please, teach me how to cultivate. Xiaojia, don't mess around. Wang Jin hurriedly scolded. It's fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled. He lowered his head to look at Wang Xiaojia and said, the people from your village have all returned. Many of them are stronger than me. Why don't you look for them? Why do you have to look for me? I think you're stronger than them. Wang Xiaojia said. You have good taste. Lu Hong secretly gave him a thumbs up. Qin Feiyang glared at her and looked at Wang Xiaojia, then what if I don't teach you? Wang Xiaojia thought for a moment and said, then I'll pester you until you teach me. This trick is useless against me. Qin Feiyang said. Then Wang Xiaojia stammered, gritted his teeth and said, then I'll kneel here and not get up. Sure. Then you can continue kneeling. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Wang Lin and the others appeared. He looked at Wang Jin and said, bring them back later. Wang Jin nodded. Qin Feiyang glanced at Wang Xiaojia, then led Lu Hong into the castle. Wang Jin looked at the place where Qin Feiyang disappeared, then looked at Wang Xiaojia and said, Xiaojia, young Master Qin doesn't want to teach you. Don't force yourself, okay? No. I must make him teach me. And I've decided. I want him to take me as his disciple. Wang Xiaojia said stubbornly. You. Wang Jin shook his head helplessly, then looked around. He did not see Lu Zheng's trace, and could not help but look disappointed. Inside the castle. Lu Hong looked at Qin Feiyang and said, such a sensible child, you have the heart to refuse. Didn't you hear that he wants me to take him as my disciple? I can't even take care of myself now, how can I have the time to care about him? Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. Lu Hong said, that child is also stubborn. If you don't agree, he might really kneel for a long time. If he really does that, it means that he is a person with perseverance. You can consider it. Qin Feiyang said, then walked to the altar and opened the 6-word divine formula. Whoosh whoosh. When he turned to the 4th page, the whole castle suddenly became violent. Caught off guard, Qin Feiyang, Lu Hong, Fatso, Wolf King and the other beasts were all swept up by the wind and crashed into the surrounding walls. Their bones were about to fall apart. What's going on? Everyone climbed up in a sorry state, firmly stabilized their bodies, and looked at the iron book in surprise. That violent wind came from the 4th page of the 6-word divine formula. Gradually, the violent wind dissipated. Qin Feiyang and the others walked closer to take a look, only to see that there was a golden word on the page. Line. Line formula? What does this mean? Everyone looked at each other. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and carefully looked at the annotations below. Very quickly. His face was filled with ecstasy. It turned out that the line formula was an auxiliary formula. In other words, the line formula could increase a person's speed like the phantom steps. But the line formula was faster than the phantom steps. According to the introduction, when the line formula was used to the limit, it could make a person disappear. Not to mention people of the same level, even people several levels higher than him would not be able to catch his trace. This speed was teleportation. Teleportation. Lu Hong frowned, people several levels higher can't even catch his trace. Isn't this too exaggerated? Return, battle, and kill. Which one isn't exaggerated? Fatso shook his head and sighed. How envious. When Boss mastered the line formula, he would be like a tiger with wings. The white-eyed wolf chuckled, Little Qin Zi, can you let me practice the line formula? Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. The white-eyed wolf was overjoyed. It immediately ran up excitedly, raised its paw, and pressed it on the line formula. Whoosh! Whoosh! A gust of wind suddenly blew it away. Fuck, the white-eyed wolf was furious. You can't blame me for this. It's not that I don't want to. It's that it doesn't want to. Qin Feiyang looked at it gloatingly. The white-eyed wolf pursed its lips. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He turned to look at the line formula, his eyes shining. The line formula had a total of 6 strokes. When he copied it, he would be able to break through to the 7-star combat emperor level. Not only would he be able to break through, but he would also be able to master a heaven-defying formula. It was a 2-pronged approach. However, according to his previous experience, the battle force needed to copy this formula would definitely be more than the battle force needed to copy the kill formula. He looked at the bottom of the page again. There was a line of small words. You can only open the 5th page after becoming a war god. If I can only open the 5th page after becoming a war god, then what about the 6th page? Could it be that becoming a war god isn't the end? Qin Feiyang was surprised. He had always thought that becoming a war god was the pinnacle of this world. But now, it seemed that it wasn't that simple. If becoming a war god isn't the end, then what is? Fatso and the others were also thinking about this question. This line of small words was tantamount to overturning their worldview. Qin Feiyang shook his head. This matter was too far in the future. There was no need to think too much about it. He would think about it after becoming a war god. After calming down, he walked to the pill scripture, and directly flipped to the next page. However, there were only 4 types of pill formulas recorded on it. One was called the Spirit Concentrating Pill. The other was called the Spirit Concentrating Pill. The remaining 2 were called the Great Creation Pill and the 5 Elements Universe Pill. Ah! There are actually only 2 types of pills? Fatso and the others surrounded him, their faces full of surprise. Great Creation Pill? Lu Hong was stunned, and muttered, why does it sound the same as the Small Creation Pill? Same? Qin Feiyang was startled, and looked at the detailed explanation below the Great Creation Pill. As expected. The effects of these 2 pills were exactly the same. They both opened the door to potential. The only difference was that the Small Creation Pill opened the extreme realm of the War Master and the extreme realm of the War Saint. The Great Creation Pill opened the extreme realm of the War Emperor. However, Chapter 1248. The Great Creation Pill required a total of 99 types of medicinal herbs. Every medicinal herb was extremely rare. Qin Feiyang had never even seen a single one of the top 5 medicinal herbs. They were the fruit of creation, white jade fruit, purple spirit flower, profound yang grass, and profound yin grass. Wait a minute. Fruit of creation? Why did it sound so familiar? Qin Feiyang frowned, and suddenly thought of the tree of creation. He hurriedly took out the tree of creation, looked at the 3 fruits on the top of the 3 branches, and then compared them one by one. In the end, he was wild with joy. These 3 fruits were exactly the same as the fruit of creation recorded in the pill scripture. So that's how it is. No wonder Ren Duxing said that these 3 fruits are of great use. It turns out that they are the main medicinal herbs to refine the Great Creation Pill. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. He had really picked up a huge bargain. However, he had never seen the white jade fruit, purple spirit flower, profound yang grass, and profound yin grass before. Fatso said, it seems that refining the Great Creation Pill is not an easy task. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. However, they didn't need the Great Creation Pill for the time being, so they weren't in a hurry. He looked at the 5 Elements Universe Pill again. At that moment, he was excited again. 5 Elements Universe Pill was a type of pill that could raise the cultivation of the War King. And just like the 9-turn dragon blood pill, the more pill patterns there were, the higher the success rate. But there was a difference. 5 elements universe pill, there were only 5 types of medicinal herbs. 10th water essence, 4th fire essence, wood essence, 6th earth essence, and 9th gold essence. According to the introduction, these 5 medicinal herbs were not flowers or plants, but 5 types of treasures that were naturally formed by heaven and earth. Each one was as rare as phoenix feathers and Chilan horns, extremely rare. Fatso said helplessly, Fat Lord has never heard of these damn things. This is the first time I've heard of it too. The winged snow eagle said. Actually, it's very easy to understand. For example, the sunflower water essence. In some extremely cold places, a type of water crystal will be born. This is the sunflower water essence. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Hong asked, so, these 5 medicinal herbs are related to metal, wood, water, fire, and earth? Yes. Kuei water essence represents water. Hellish gold essence represents gold. Wood essence represents wood. The essence of the earth represents earth. 4th fire essence represents fire. If you want to find these 5 medicinal herbs, you have to start from these things. Qin Feiyang said. That should be easy, right? After all, no matter where it is, there is fire, water, and so on. Lu Hong said. It's not that simple. The conditions for the formation of these 5 treasures are extremely harsh, and the process is extremely long. According to my knowledge, it requires at least 1,000 years. Qin Feiyang said. So long. Everyone was dumbfounded. Otherwise, why would they be called heavenly treasures? Qin Feiyang smiled. Fatso said, then let's take a look at the soul-condensing pill and soul-condensing pill. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked down. But at this moment, the image crystal rang. Fatso was puzzled, who would send you a message at this time? Qin Feiyang shook his head and took out the image crystal. Clatter. A strong figure quickly emerged. It turns out to be the commander of the Kirin army. Everyone smiled. Qin Feiyang, bad news. However, when he saw Qin Feiyang, the commander of the Kirin army immediately shouted, his face full of anxiety. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched. Your mother is missing. The commander of the Kirin army said. What? Qin Feiyang's face changed abruptly. Fatso and Wolf King were also shocked. What's going on? Lu Hong asked. Not long ago, I went to the Violet Palace to visit the Empress, but I found that she was not in the palace. I thought she just went out to relax, but when I searched the entire Violet Palace, I didn't see her. Later, I asked the guards at the gate, and they said that they didn't see the Empress come out. The commander of the Kirin army said. Qin Feiyang roared, then continue to search. The commander of the Kirin army said, yes, we searched the entire imperial palace, but we didn't see the Empress. Qin Feiyang's heart sank, and said, does the Emperor know? Such a big thing, of course he knows. He also sent people to look for her, but they didn't find her. He is now suspecting that you broke into the Violet Palace and saved the Empress. The commander of the Kirin army said in a deep voice. If Mother was willing to go with me, I would have taken her away long ago, why wait until now? Qin Feiyang was furious. The commander of the Kirin army said, I also said the same to His Majesty, but His Majesty didn't listen. He still thinks that you are the most suspicious. Damn it! Qin Feiyang's eyes were hazy. You also have to think of a way. I will continue to search, and I will inform you immediately if there is any news. After the commander of the Kirin army finished speaking, the phantom image disappeared. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Lu Hong comforted him, don't worry, Auntie is smart and capable, and she is also very strong. She will not be in danger. Mother is the person I care about the most in this world, how can I not worry? No, I have to go back to the imperial city immediately. Qin Feiyang said. What can you do if you go back now? You can't do anything, and you will be hunted down by the emperor. Lu Hong hurriedly said. Yes. Just now, the commander of the Kirin army also said that the emperor is suspicious of you. If you go back now, you will be walking into a trap. Don't be rash. I believe that auntie will be fine. Fatso said. You don't know my mother. She is a person who sees the big picture, and she will never leave the Violet Light Palace without saying anything. Qin Feiyang said solemnly. Lu Hong said, then do you think it has something to do with it? You don't say, it is really possible. This time, we destroyed his nest, took away the ancient pagoda and the tree of creation, and even destroyed his divine artifact jade pendant. In the face of such a great loss, with his personality, he might really take the risk and kidnap your mother. Fatso said. Don't forget, there is another person who suffered a great loss this time, and that is Lu Xingchen. He also has the ability to kidnap auntie easily. Wolf King said. Yes. It must be one of them. Lu Hong said. No matter who it is, they have completely enraged me this time. Qin Feiyang paused after every word, and the killing intent in his eyes surged. Then, he sent a message to Lu Xingchen. Soon. Lu Xingchen's shadow appeared. Qin Feiyang said, my mother is missing, do you know? Lu Xingchen said, I just received news from the spy. Did you do it? Qin Feiyang said. You suspect me? Although you killed Ren Duxing, I won't kidnap your mother to threaten you. I can tell you very responsibly that this has nothing to do with me. Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyang said, then ask Mu Qing to use the all-seeing eye to see where my mother is now. Do you think Mu Qing will help you now? Lu Xingchen said lightly. You can state your conditions. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xingchen said, that's what you said. That ancient pagoda should be in your hands now. I want you to give it to me immediately. Don't go too far. The ancient pagoda is a space divine object. Why should I give it to you? Fatso said angrily. Lu Xingchen said, because the ancient pagoda is originally mine. Besides, between the ancient pagoda and Qin Feiyang's mother, I believe you know in your hearts who is more important. Fatso shouted, you are looting a burning house. Aren't you afraid that we will fall out with you? I'm afraid. But now, you are the one begging me, not the other way around. And our cooperation is to make use of each other and take what we need. Lu Xingchen smiled faintly. You, the fatty couldn't contain his anger. Enough, don't say anything else. Qin Feiyang reached out to stop Fatso. He looked at Lu Xingchen and said, do you think you can threaten me like this? Don't forget that I helped you hide your identity. That's right. If the emperor and the state preceptor know that you are also Mu Tianyang, what do you think will happen to you? Lu Hong sneered. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows. If you really want the ancient pagoda, I can give it to you. But I can guarantee that before tomorrow, your identity as Mu Tianyang will be known throughout the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyang, his expression uncertain. But in the end, he let out a long breath, shook his head, and sighed. To be honest, I'm beginning to regret cooperating with you. I can't get any advantage. Cut the crap. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows, looking impatient. Fine. I'll immediately ask Mu Qing to open the all-seeing eye. After Lu Xingchen finished speaking, he turned off the image crystal. Qin Feiyang patiently waited quietly. Time passed breath by breath. About 100 breaths later, the image crystal in his hand buzzed again. Qin Feiyang quickly activated the image crystal. Lu Xingqian's shadow appeared and said, Mu Qing has seen it, but it seems to be isolated by something. I can't see your mother's exact location. What's the approximate location? Qin Feiyang said. The Sea of Reincarnation. Lu Xingqian said word by word. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. His mother was in the Sea of Reincarnation? I can only help you this much. You can solve the rest by yourself. Don't forget that the miracle is about to open. Don't stay in the Sea of Reincarnation for too long. Lu Xingqian said. Didn't you ask us to come to the Sea of Reincarnation? Lu Hong frowned. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Ren Duxing told me that Lu Xingqian asked us to come to the Sea of Reincarnation as a pretense. The real purpose is to let us find this village and then destroy the Imperial Preceptor's conspiracy. I see. Lu Hong nodded in realization. Qin Feiyang looked up at Lu Xingqian and said, Since you are investigating the Imperial Preceptor, you should know that he has another nest. I do know this, but I'm sorry, I didn't find the location of that nest. Lu Xingqian said. I see. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and turned off the image crystal. Lu Hong said, It seems that Auntie was kidnapped by the Imperial Preceptor. Auntie is now in the Sea of Reincarnation. The Imperial Preceptor's descendants must be somewhere in the Sea of Reincarnation. Fatso asked, The Sea of Reincarnation is too big. Where can we find them? Lu Hong said, The Sea of Reincarnation is big, but we are not the same as before. You mean? Fatso's eyes lit up. Yes. Wang Yangfeng and the others. More than 2,000 combat emperors. It's enough to turn the Sea of Reincarnation upside down. Chapter 1249. Turn it upside down, Qin Feiyang muttered. Shua. The next moment. He appeared in the ancient pagoda. Wang Jin had already left with Wang Lin and the other 8, leaving only Wang Xiaojie kneeling there alone. Seeing Qin Feiyang appear, Wang Xiaojie's spirit was lifted, and he hurriedly kowtowed, Disciple Wang Xiaojie greets Master. He thought that Qin Feiyang had agreed to accept him as his disciple. However, Qin Feiyang didn't even look at him. Because right now, he wasn't in the mood to care about Wang Xiaojie. Qin Feiyang flew into the sky, stood high up in the sky, and shouted, Elder Wang, quickly come over. Whoosh! Soon. Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, Wang Yangfeng landed in front of Qin Feiyang like lightning, and asked, Young master, what's the matter? Qin Feiyang said, My mother was kidnapped by the imperial tutor and is now in the Sea of Reincarnation. Quickly gather all the war king and help me look for her. Wang Yangfeng's expression changed, he turned around and shouted, All the war king in the village, quickly gather here. His voice was like a bell, resounding in all directions. Whoosh! At that moment, those war king who were busy building their homes immediately put down the things in their hands, flew into the sky, and flew over. In less than 50 breaths, all the combat emperors hurried over, forming a dense crowd. Everyone stood in the air and bowed, Greetings, young master. Qin Feiyang nodded. Wang Yangfeng said in a deep voice, Young master's mother, who is also our mistress, was kidnapped by the imperial tutor, so I specially gathered everyone to help. What? Mistress was kidnapped? Isn't the imperial tutor too much? He won't even let a woman go. Everyone was filled with anger. The red-haired old man looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Young master, do you know where mistress is now? It's precisely because I don't know that I need your help. Qin Feiyang pointed his index finger in the air. His battle chi surged as a beautiful woman in white appeared in the air. He said, She is my mother. Everyone looked up and memorized the appearance of the white-clothed woman in their hearts. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and brought everyone to the island. He warned, the sea of reincarnation is extremely dangerous. It's best if you all form a group and search for it. No matter what happens, don't act on your own. In short, protecting your own lives is the most important thing. I don't want to see anyone die outside. Yes. Everyone bowed in response, a warm current flowing in their hearts. If it was the previous First Valley Master and Second Valley Master, they would not have cared about their lives. Qin Feiyang said, Elder Wang, stay behind. The rest of you can go first. Whoosh. His voice fell. Over 2,000 battle monarchs immediately scattered and disappeared into different directions. Wang Yangfeng looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Young master, do you have something to tell me by asking me to stay? Qin Feiyang asked, do you all have image crystals? Yes. Wang Yangfeng nodded. Qin Feiyang said, then let's establish a contract bridge. If there's any news, you can inform me immediately. Okay. Wang Yangfeng took out the image crystal. After establishing the contract bridge, Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, Elder Wang, I'll leave it to you. You don't have to worry too much. Heaven helps the worthy. Mistress will definitely be fine. Wang Yangfeng smiled and comforted him. Then, he turned and streaked across the sky, disappearing at the end of the sea. Mother, Qin Feiyang looked at the sky, his hands tightly clenched together. Suddenly, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He opened a teleportation door and descended on top of a magnificent hall. The hall was decorated with dragons and phoenixes. It was magnificent. There was a golden plaque hanging on the door. The words, Throne Hall, were written with iron hooks and silver, vigorous and powerful. Around the hall, the Kirin army stood upright. Who is it? They also sensed Qin Feiyang's aura at the first moment. They all looked up in surprise. When they saw Qin Feiyang, their expressions suddenly changed, and they quickly retreated. Qin Feiyang stood in the sky, pointing his index finger at the throne hall. Battle chi surged at his fingertips. It was obvious that he wanted to destroy the throne hall again. Qin Feiyang, don't mess around. A violent roar sounded. The commander of the Kirin army flew over, his face full of anxiety. Qin Feiyang had already angered His Majesty when he destroyed the throne hall last time. If he destroyed it again, there would be no room for reconciliation between him and His Majesty. However, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. Boom! The battle chi on his fingertips rushed out and blasted into the throne hall. The newly renovated throne room was once again reduced to ashes. It's over. The commander of the Kirin army stopped in the void and muttered to himself. Qin Feiyang lowered his arm, looked up at the commander of the Kirin army, and disappeared instantly. In the imperial study. At this moment, the emperor was sitting in front of the desk with his head lowered, seriously reading the memorials. Below, the chief eunuch and several maids stood aside silently. Boom! Suddenly, the loud sound of the throne hall being destroyed was heard. The emperor raised his eyebrows, looked at the chief eunuch, and said, "Go out and see what's going on." "Yes." The chief eunuch responded, turned around, and walked out quickly. Oh no! But as soon as he walked out of the imperial study, a little eunuch rushed in with a pale face. "What's the fuss?" The chief eunuch shouted with dissatisfaction. The little eunuch shouted, "Chief, the throne hall was destroyed by Qin Feiyang again." The chief eunuch's face changed. At the same time, a cracking sound came from the imperial study. The chief eunuch's eyes trembled, and he quickly turned to look at the imperial study. He saw the emperor clenching his hands, his eyes gloomy, and the memorials in his hands had been smashed into pieces. As for those maids, they all had shocked expressions on their faces. "Got it, you can leave now." The chief eunuch waved to the little eunuch, and the chief eunuch trotted to the emperor's side and said, "Your Majesty, please calm down." The emperor slammed his hand on the desk, stood up suddenly, and shouted, "This is the second time, how can I not be angry? Does he still have any respect for me?" The chief eunuch said anxiously, "Your Majesty, please calm down, your health is more important." "I can't calm down." The emperor waved his hand angrily and was about to leave the imperial study. "Then let me help you vent your anger." At this moment, a sneer sounded, and Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air in the imperial study. The chief eunuch's face changed greatly, and he shouted, "Guards, get out." Qin Feiyang turned to look at him, and his eyes were as sharp as a knife, sharp and threatening. The chief eunuch swallowed his saliva and turned to look at the emperor. The emperor returned to the dragon throne and looked at Qin Feiyang gloomily. After a moment, he waved his hand and said, "All of you, get out." "Your Majesty, you can't," the chief eunuch hurriedly said. "Do you think he can kill me with that little bit of strength?" The emperor sneered. But, the chief eunuch was still worried. The emperor shouted, "I don't want to say it a second time, get out now." "Yes." The chief eunuch's face turned pale, and he hurriedly bowed in response. Then he turned around and walked out, and he whispered to the maids, "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and leave." The maids were also shocked by the sudden appearance of Qin Feiyang. Hearing the chief eunuch's shout, they quickly ran out with the chief eunuch. Qin Feiyang was now a taboo in the imperial palace, and they would change their faces if they heard of him, let alone see him in person. "Close the door as well," Qin Feiyang said without looking back. The chief eunuch, who had just walked out of the door, stiffened slightly and turned to close the door. A maid whispered, "Chief, what should we do?" "Qin Feiyang may do something bad to His Majesty." The chief eunuch pondered and said, "I'll stay here to observe the situation. You go and inform the state preceptor." "Okay." The maids nodded and immediately turned and ran away. In the study, the emperor sat on the dragon throne, put his hands on the desk, and said angrily, "What do you want?" Qin Feiyang said, "I should be the one asking you this question." "Asking me?" The emperor frowned. "Do you still remember what you said at the beginning? For 10 years, no one is allowed to hurt my mother and anyone related to me. Anyone who violates this will be killed without mercy." Qin Feiyang said. "Of course I do." The emperor said. Qin Feiyang shouted, "What about now? My mother has been taken away by a traitor. How are you going to explain it to me?" "Not bad, you know how to pretend to be a thief." The emperor sneered. Qin Feiyang said, "You don't really think that it was me who took my mother away, do you? If not you, who else could it be?" The emperor sneered. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed and said, "Then answer me first. Does the promise at the beginning still count?" "Of course." The emperor nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "In other words, no matter who took my mother away this time, you will kill them without mercy? A gentleman does not joke." The emperor said. "Good. Now I'll tell you that the one who took my mother away this time is none other than your teacher, the state preceptor of our great Qin Empire." Qin Feiyang said angrily. "Nonsense." The emperor was furious and said, "How can the state preceptor of a country do such a despicable thing? If you think that I will help you deal with the state preceptor, then you are gravely mistaken." Qin Feiyang shook his head and said lightly, "You don't even know what kind of people are around you. You are really pitiful. You don't have to worry about that. I know the people around me better than anyone." The emperor said expressionlessly. "Do you really know? Do you know what the state preceptor is plotting? Do you know that there is a green light above your head?" Qin Feiyang sneered. "What are you trying to say?" The emperor said angrily. "I have completely given up on you. There is nothing to say. This time I came to tell you that if you don't have the ability to protect my mother, then return her to me. Qin Feiyang said. The emperor said, her feet are on her body. She can leave if she wants to. I did not tie her up. Qin Feiyang was furious. If there was no restriction from the emperor, would his mother stay in the imperial palace? Boom! However, at this moment, a divine aura descended on the imperial study. It was obviously the state preceptor. Qin Feiyang suppressed his anger and looked coldly at the emperor, saying, "Do you know what your image in my mind is now? Incompetent, muddle-headed, the current you is not worthy of being the emperor of this country." After saying that, Qin Feiyang opened a portal and left. The emperor clenched his hands tightly together. Since he ascended the throne, except for when Uncle Yuan gave him a slap in public, no one dared to speak to him loudly, let alone call him muddle-headed and incompetent. Chapter 1250. Dong. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to leave, there was a knock on the door. The imperial study room was where the emperors of the past read memorials. No one was allowed to enter. This was the rule of the past dynasties. Therefore, even the state preceptor did not dare to barge in. "Come in." The emperor took a deep breath and said faintly. The state preceptor pushed the door and entered. He glanced at the imperial study room and asked doubtfully, "Your Majesty, I heard that Qin Feiyang is here. Where is he?" "He has left," the emperor said. The state preceptor's eyes flashed slightly and asked with concern, "He didn't do anything to you, right? Would he dare?" The emperor snorted. "It's good that you're fine." The state preceptor smiled and asked calmly, "What did he say to you?" The emperor said faintly, "What do you think he will say to me?" The state preceptor quickly lowered his head and bowed, "I dare not guess." The emperor said, "He told me that you were the one who kidnapped his mother." The state preceptor was stunned and quickly said, "Your Majesty, don't listen to his nonsense. Her Majesty's disappearance has nothing to do with me. This is purely a frame-up." "I know. You don't have to explain," the emperor said faintly. "Your Majesty is wise." The state preceptor bowed and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The emperor said, however, "Judging from Qin Feiyang's tone and attitude, it seems that he did not take his mother away. Your Majesty, don't be fooled by him. This boy is very good at disguising himself. This time, he might come to you to hide something," the state preceptor said. The emperor said, "As you see fit." The state preceptor's eyes flashed coldly and said, "We must quickly find a way to capture him. Otherwise, with his insidious and cunning personality, who knows what kind of trouble he will cause." The emperor was silent. The state preceptor said, "Your Majesty, you have been indulging him for a long time. It's time to be ruthless." The emperor let out a long sigh and said, "Then, I'll leave this matter to you." The state preceptor was secretly delighted. He bowed and said, "Your Majesty is wise. I will do my best to bring him to justice in the shortest time possible." The emperor nodded and waved his hand. "Go and get busy. Also, get someone to repair the throne room." "Yes." The imperial advisor replied respectfully and turned to leave the imperial study. He flew straight to the sky above a magnificent palace. The palace was dozens of feet tall and richly ornamented. It was inlaid with all kinds of jades, pearls, emeralds, and agates. It was extremely luxurious. Around them was a large garden. Hundreds of flowers were in full bloom, attracting bees and butterflies. Above the entrance of the palace, there were 3 bold words engraved on it. "The imperial advisor's residence." That was right. This was the residence of the imperial tutor. Greetings to the imperial advisor. In front of the palace gate, there were 4 guards. When they saw the imperial tutor, they immediately knelt down to greet him. "Yes. The imperial tutor landed in front of the door and gently nodded. He asked, "Did anything unusual happen while I was away?" "No, everything is normal." One of the guards shook his head. "Very good. From now on, no one is allowed to enter this hall without my orders. Even if the concubines come, they have to inform me in advance." The imperial advisor said. "Yes." The 4 guards nodded in response. The imperial advisor glanced at the 4 of them and entered the hall, closing the door tightly. The decorations in the hall were also very luxurious. The imperial advisor sat on a dragon throne. He lowered his head and pondered for a moment before taking out an image crystal. Buzz! An illusory figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man. He was about 1.8 meters tall and had a tall figure. His eyebrows were sharp like swords. He wore a gorgeous purple-gold robe and his thick black hair draped over his shoulders. He exuded the arrogant aura of a superior. However, when he saw the imperial advisor, the middle-aged man immediately put down his arrogant attitude. He lowered his head and bowed. "Greetings to the patriarch." "Yes." The imperial advisor nodded and asked, "How is she now?" The middle-aged man said, "Don't worry. She is locked in the divine cave. No one can get close." "Very good. Now, His Majesty has given me full authority to deal with Qin Feiyang. I can do whatever I want. Immediately follow my plan. This time, I must make Qin Feiyang die in the Sea of Reincarnation." The imperial advisor sneered. "Understood." The middle-aged man nodded. His eyes flashed with cold light. He asked, "After this matter is done, what will you do with her?" "Kill her too." The imperial advisor said. The middle-aged man was shocked. The imperial advisor said, "The Liu family is no longer as glorious as before. You don't have to worry so much. Just do as I say." "Okay." The middle-aged man replied respectfully. The Sea of Reincarnation. On the island. Qin Feiyang stood on a reef and looked at the endless sea. He fell into deep self-blame and regret. If he had insisted on taking his mother away, this would not have happened at all. "Mother, nothing must happen to you." Qin Feiyang muttered to himself and entered the ancient castle to copy the Xing character formula. However, no matter what he did, he couldn't calm down. In his mind, there was always the shadow of his mother. In the end, he simply closed the iron book and walked back and forth in the castle. He was like an ant on a hot pan, anxious and restless. Lu Hong and the others looked at him. They all wanted to persuade him, but they didn't know how to. Fatty suddenly said, "Boss, I've thought about it. There's something that can't be delayed and should be done immediately." "What is it?" Qin Feiyang stopped and looked at him suspiciously. Lu Hong and the others also looked at him in confusion. Fatso said, "The imperial advisor's action this time can be regarded as a wake-up call for us. Although there is the emperor's imperial edict, the old master and the others are not really safe, so we must take precautions." "What do you mean?" Lu Hong asked. "Bring Ren Wuxuang and the old master here immediately," Fatso said. Lu Hong nodded and turned to Qin Feiyang, saying, "Fatso's concern is not wrong. If the imperial advisor can take your mother away now, he can also take others away in the future." Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "I'll contact my sister first. After that." He took out the image crystal. But as soon as he took out the image crystal buzzed. Qin Feiyang was taken aback. His battle chi surged and the image crystal was revived. An illusionary figure appeared. It turned out to be the commander of the Kirin army. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang asked. The commander of the Kirin army said, "You are too reckless. How can you destroy the throne room again and again? Qin Feiyang frowned and said, You came to me just to tell me this? The commander of the Kirin army said, I just want to advise you not to be so reckless. Besides, I'm sorry that there is no news about the whereabouts of the Empress. Qin Feiyang said, I already know where my mother is. You don't have to look for her anymore. Where is she? The commander of the Kirin army was overjoyed. This joy came from the bottom of his heart. Qin Feiyang said, She is in the hands of the imperial advisor. Don't act rashly. I will find a way to save her. This, the commander of the Kirin army was shocked and hurriedly asked, Do you have evidence? In this world, not everything needs evidence. You're too old-fashioned. After saying that, Qin Feiyang turned off the image crystal and sent a message to Ren Wuxuang. After a while, Ren Wuxuang's shadow finally appeared. Sister. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Ren Wuxuang was about to scold him. The news that Qin Feiyang destroyed the throne room had already spread in the Empire City. Of course, she also knew about it. But suddenly, she found that Qin Feiyang's face was not right. She looked at Qin Feiyang carefully and asked, Your face is so pale. Did something happen? Although Qin Feiyang was smiling, she could see that it was just a forced smile. Nothing. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Really? Ren Wuxuang frowned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Ren Wuxuang asked, Then why are you looking for me now? Qin Feiyang said, Go to the old master immediately and ask him to come and meet me. And Shen Mei, Dong Zhengyang, Zhu Yu, and Tan Wu. If they are willing, bring them here too. Ren Wuxuang was stunned and said in a deep voice, Don't lie to me. If nothing happened, would you let us go to you? Let's talk about it when you come. Qin Feiyang said. Ren Wuxuang said, I don't care, but you know my grandfather's temper. I'm afraid he won't go with you. Qin Feiyang said, Then tell him that Ren Duxing is with me. What? Ren Wuxuang's eyes trembled, and he said excitedly, Father is really with you? Qin Feiyang nodded. Okay, I'll go to Grandpa right away. Ren Wuxuang said. I'm in the sea of reincarnation now. Qin Feiyang said and gave Ren Wuxuang a coordinate. After Ren Wuxuang memorized the coordinate, the shadow quickly dissipated. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, lowered his head, and pondered for a while. He turned to Viper and Fatso and said, You two take the space-time gate to the spiritual state and bring Uncle Yen and Aunt Shui here. Don't forget Ling Yunfei's mother. Fatso asked, What about Yi and the mermaid princess? Qin Feiyang was silent for a while and said, Bring them here too. Although he didn't want to face the feelings of the two now, he didn't want the two of them to be used as bargaining chips by the Grand Preceptor in the future. Okay. Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang took out the space-time gate and handed it to Viper. Then, he sent the two of them out. On the island, the wind howled and the waves surged. Sea beasts roared as they rushed out from the waves. The big ones were comparable to mountains, and the small ones were like boulders. Their ferocious aura spread in all directions. Whoosh! Suddenly, 3 figures descended on the island. They were 2 men and a woman. The woman was in her 20s. She wore a snow-white floor-length dress. Her hair was like a waterfall, and her facial features were exquisite. She was like a fairy. That's right. She was Ren Wuxuang. There were 2 men, one old and one young. The old man had white hair and a white beard. He looked very old. The other man was a young man in black. His facial features were distinct, and his face was cold. He exuded a shocking aura. Where is Qin Feiyang? Why don't I see him? The old man looked around the island, his expression full of anxiety and anticipation. Grandpa, don't worry. The coordinates that little brother gave me are definitely correct. He might be in the castle now. Ren Wuxia comforted the old man. Then, he looked around and shouted, "Little brother, we're here. Can you hear us?" Before he finished speaking. Chapter 1251. Feiyang, the old master immediately stepped forward, grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder, and asked, "Where is he?" Ren Wuxia was also looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them and said, "Uncle Ren is in the castle, but you have to be mentally prepared." "What do you mean?" The two of them were suspicious. Qin Feiyang didn't answer. He looked at the young man in black and said with a smile, "Dong Zhengyang, long time no see. Counting the time, we have indeed not seen each other for a long time." Dong Zhengyang nodded, feeling emotional. "Welcome," he said. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "By the way, where are Shen Mei and the rest?" "Shen Mei and Lu Xingchen are together. They said they don't want to trouble you. Zhu Yu disappeared and can't be found. As for Tan Wu, he said something inexplicable and asked me to tell you that it's the same anywhere." Ren Wuxia said. "It's the same anywhere," Qin Feiyang murmured and then shook his head with a smile. In fact, Tan Wu was hinting to him that although the imperial city was dangerous, no one could hurt him. Of course. He also believed in Tan Wu. After all, the person behind Tan Wu now was Uncle Yuan. However, Zhu Yu's disappearance made him a little puzzled. This woman, from the beginning until now, gave him the impression that she was mysterious and unfathomable. Wait a minute. Could it be related to Uncle Yuan? Qin Feiyang was surprised and doubtful. Zhu Yu had been nurturing him, but he and Zhu Yu were neither relatives nor friends. Why would she do this? She must have been entrusted by someone. In this world, the only people who really cared about him and had the ability to make Zhu Yu do this were only Uncle Yuan and his mother. His mother was in the capital all year round, so it was definitely not her. Then, only Uncle Yuan was left. "Uncle Yuan, what have you done for me behind the scenes? Will I ever be able to repay your kindness to me in this lifetime?" Qin Feiyang murmured. "Who?" After secretly exhaling, Qin Feiyang looked up at Ren Wuxia and asked, "How far have Shen Mei and Lu Xingchen progressed?" "I'm not sure either. Usually, when I asked her, she always changed the topic and refused to answer directly." Ren Wuxia shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "As her good friend, you'd better persuade her to stay away from Lu Xingchen. Otherwise, she'll be the one who gets hurt in the end." "What you're saying is that there's still a big problem with Lu Xingchen?" Ren Wuxia was bewildered. "It's not very big, it's very big," Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. The old man impatiently urged, "Can we talk about Lu Xingchen later?" Qin Feiyang glanced at him, waved his hand, and led the three into the castle. Ren Duxing was lying in a corner of the castle at this moment. There was no breath in his body, and he was already dead. "Father." Ren Wuxia saw Ren Duxing immediately, and his body trembled slightly. Why was father lying on the ground? He couldn't have. Thinking of this, she hurriedly ran over, squatted on the ground, shook Ren Duxing's body, and shouted, "Father, Grandpa and I are here, wake up," at the same time. The old man looked at Ren Duxing's body, and his eyes were trembling. Suddenly, his body shook violently and fell to the ground. Qin Feiyang hurriedly went up to support him. "How could this be, father? Wake up, don't sleep anymore." Ren Wuxia muttered to himself, and his face was full of disbelief. The old man on the side couldn't help but slowly clench his hands together, trying to control his emotions, and said in a low voice, "Feiyang, tell me, what's going on?" The greatest pain in the world was the death of a white-haired person. Qin Feiyang knew that the old man must be on the verge of collapse now. They had waited day and night for their son to come back with great difficulty, but in the end, what came back was an ice-cold corpse. No matter who it was, they would not be able to accept this kind of thing. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and said, "It's a long story. Let's bury Uncle Ren first." The old man suddenly turned around, grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder, and roared, "I want to know now, how did he die?" Qin Feiyang wanted to say something, but stopped. Ren Wuxia turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang, got up, and said to the old man, "The dead should be respected. Grandpa, let's listen to little brother and bury father first." The old man stared at Qin Feiyang, but in the end, he let go of his hand and turned to Ren Wuxia, saying, "Now that we are in the sea of reincarnation, where can we bury him?" "I have a place to bury Uncle Ren," Qin Feiyang said. "Where?" The old man and Ren Wuxia looked at him and asked. Qin Feiyang walked over, picked up Ren Duxing's body, and appeared in the ancient pagoda with the old man and Ren Wuxia. "Master," when Wang Xiaojie saw Qin Feiyang appear, he immediately called out excitedly. But Qin Feiyang still ignored him, flew into the sky, and scanned the ground below. The old man and Ren Wuxia also flew into the sky and stood beside him. Qin Feiyang said, "You can find a place to bury Uncle Ren here." The two of them scanned the mountain range below. "Over there." A moment later, Ren Wuxia pointed to a giant mountain not far away. The giant mountain was more than 1,000 zhang tall, like a giant sword, towering into the sky. At the peak of the mountain, the wild grass was lush, and the trees were green. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded, took a step forward, and landed on the peak of the mountain. On the peak of the mountain, there was a black panther. Its body was more than 10 meters long, and its fur was as bright as silk. Its fist-sized fierce eyes flickered with an ominous light. And its cultivation was not simple. It was a 2-star combat emperor beast. But when it saw Qin Feiyang, the black panther was like a mouse seeing a cat. It curled up into a ball and trembled. Qin Feiyang looked at the black panther and said, "From now on, this is the forbidden area of the cemetery. You are in charge of guarding it, and don't let any ferocious beasts come near." "Yes." The black panther crawled on the ground and respectfully replied. If it was in the past, the old man and Ren Wuxia would definitely find it unbelievable that he could even command an emperor beast. But now, they acted as if they did not see it. They scanned the peak of the mountain, looking for a place to bury him. Finally, the old man pointed to the cliff in the east, looked at Ren Wuxia, and said, "When your father was young, he loved to watch the sunrise. Let's bury him there." "Okay." Ren Wuxia nodded, took Ren Duxing's body from Qin Feiyang, and walked towards the cliff. Qin Feiyang did not follow. He stood beside the black panther and watched quietly. The black panther looked at the old man and Ren Wuxia, and asked carefully, "Young master, who are they?" "Young master?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. The black panther said in fear, "I heard the people in the village call you that, so I also call you that. You won't be angry, right?" "Why would I be angry?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Frankly speaking, he was too happy. Because the Black Panther called him that, it was equivalent to surrendering to him in disguise. The Black Panther breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Feiyang looked at it in amusement, and said, "Am I very scary? Why are you so nervous?" No, it's not scary at all." The Black Panther quickly shook its huge head, but it did not dare to look directly at Qin Feiyang, obviously feeling guilty. Actually, not only it, all the ferocious beasts in the ancient tower were intimidated by Qin Feiyang. Without a doubt. All of this was because of the kill formula. Now in their eyes, Qin Feiyang was a demon that could not be provoked, and they kept a respectful distance from him. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, looked up at the back of Ren Wuxia and the old man, and sighed, "They are the closest people to me, and this time, they are here to bury their loved ones." The Black Panther nodded in realization, and then said, "Young master, you just said that this place will be a forbidden area in the cemetery in the future. Will all the people who die in the future be buried here?" Qin Feiyang nodded. "Then won't I become a tomb guard?" The Black Panther said. "You don't want to?" Qin Feiyang asked. Yes, I'm very willing." The Black Panther's pupils shrank, and it smiled flatteringly. Qin Feiyang said, "Guard here well, and you will not be short of benefits." "Thank you, young master." The Black Panther was ecstatic. "Right. Who is the strongest among the ferocious beasts here?" Qin Feiyang said. The Black Panther said, "Thunder Leopard, it has the cultivation of a 9-star war emperor, and is our emperor." Thunder Leopard. Qin Feiyang was surprised. This Thunder Leopard was born with the ability to control thunder. Whether it was speed or attack power, they were both extremely powerful. It was said that, it also had the bloodline power of the Wind Thunder Leopard in its body. The Wind Thunder Leopard was said to be the mount of the Thunder God in the distant past. It was a true divine beast. And the Thunder Leopard was one of the beasts that could easily transform into a Wind Thunder Leopard. "Where is it entrenched?" Qin Feiyang asked. The Black Panther thought for a moment, and said, "In the deepest canyon in the south, but it has a very bad temper. In the past, when facing the Grand Valley Master and the Second Valley Master, it always ignored them." "It has such a personality?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned his head to look at the old man and Ren Wuxia, then closed his eyes and carefully sensed. Now, he was already the master of this ancient tower. Whether it was the people here or the beasts, he could find them all. Moreover, now, as long as he willed it, no matter where it was, he could arrive there in an instant. As for the reason why the Grand Valley Master was unable to do this back then, was because the owner of the castle had always been the imperial advisor. There really is a Thunder Leopard. A moment later, Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, and a light flashed in his eyes. He turned his head to look at the Black Panther and said in a low voice, "Look after them. If anything happens, inform me immediately." "Okay." The Black Panther nodded. Schwa. Before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang flashed and appeared above a canyon. The canyon was very large and surrounded by mountains. But there was nothing in the canyon. Not even a blade of grass. The entire canyon was submerged in a purple sea of thunder. And in the center of the canyon, a 5 to 6 meter long leopard was lying on the ground, dozing off with its eyes closed. Its fur was purple, and there were electric arcs flashing in its hair. It was extremely eye-catching. The purple sea of thunder in the canyon was released by it. Qin Feiyang looked at the Thunder Leopard for a while, and then looked at the purple sea of thunder around the Thunder Leopard. This sea of thunder was formed by strands of tiny thunder and lightning power intertwined. Each strand exuded an aura that could destroy the world. Even Qin Feiyang did not dare to approach it. Because the power of thunder and lightning was enough to instantly shatter his body and bones. If I can take the Thunder Leopard of the 9-star War Emperor for my own use, then when I rescue my mother, I will undoubtedly have another great help. Chapter 1252. You'd better not touch it. But at this moment, Lei Bao, who was lying in the middle of the sea of lightning, suddenly made a sound. Qin Feiyang was shocked and looked down. Although Lei Bao was talking, he did not open his eyes and did not even raise his head to look at him. What a proud and aloof fellow. Qin Feiyang muttered. His finger, which had stopped in the air, suddenly moved forward and seamlessly made contact with a strand of electric energy. Suck. Immediately, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. This was caused by the intense pain. The moment his fingertip made contact with the lightning power, his skin and flesh split open and blood flowed out. He did not dare to be negligent and immediately retracted his arm. The purple gold dragon blood and the life force contained in the fire of life in his body immediately healed his wound at a speed visible to the naked eye. Swoosh! At the same time, Lei Bao suddenly opened his eyes, revealing two purple fierce eyes. He raised his head and stared at Qin Feiyang. To be exact, he was staring at Qin Feiyang's fingertip, his eyes filled with disbelief. One must know that he had the cultivation of a 9-star battle emperor. And these lightning powers, each wisp had the power of a 9-star battle emperor. It was not an exaggeration to say that even a 9-star battle emperor of the same realm would not be able to escape unscathed if he accidentally touched the lightning power. However, this person, a mere 1-star battle emperor, only had his skin and flesh split open. Even his bones were not damaged. Not bad. Qin Feiyang looked at his fingertip and examined Lei Bao. He said, "From now on, you are my mount." Mount? Lei Bao was stunned. He slowly stood up and stared at Qin Feiyang. He said, "Say that again." His eyes flashed with a terrifying light. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "From now on, you are my mount." Courting death. Lei Bao flew into the sky and stood in front of Qin Feiyang. He sneered, "Back then, the first Valley Master and second Valley Master also wanted me to be their mount. But do you know what happened to them?" Qin Feiyang said, "It has something to do with me." "Of course. Because very soon, you will also end up like them." Back then, they were all beaten to the point of kneeling and begging for forgiveness by this emperor. The thunder leopard bared its fangs, roared, and pounced at Qin Feiyang. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang flickered and appeared several li away in an instant without any warning. It was as if he had teleported. Actually, this was equivalent to teleportation. Because in the ancient pagoda, with just a thought, he could go to anything. Lei Bao was surprised. Qin Feiyang said, "You still don't know? This place is now my territory." "So what?" Lei Bao smiled disdainfully and turned into a purple lightning bolt. In a few blinks of an eye, he arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. So fast. Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. But so what? In the ancient pagoda, no one could compete with him in speed. Whoosh! With a thought, he disappeared again and appeared several li behind Lei Bao. Lei Bao was about to go crazy. He turned around and stared at Qin Feiyang, saying, "If you have the guts, let's fight face to face. If this emperor loses, this emperor will do as you wish and be your mount. But if you lose, don't bother me in the future. Let's fight." Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Lei Bao said disdainfully, "This emperor will not bully you. This emperor will suppress his cultivation to the same level as yours." Hearing this, Qin Feiyang sneered. "What do you mean by that look?" Lei Bao raised his eyebrows. Qin Feiyang said coldly, "It seems that you really don't know my methods. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said such stupid words like suppressing your realm." "Stupid words? Brat, this emperor knows your methods. Even the great Valley Master and the others are not your match. But you have to be clear that this emperor is not someone that those two trash can compare to." Lei Bao roared into the sky, and his cultivation plummeted. In the blink of an eye, he was controlled to be a 1-star war emperor. Roar! Following closely. Accompanied by a deafening roar, Lei Bao charged towards Qin Feiyang with a surging ferocious aura. Boom! Qin Feiyang's gaze turned cold. Without saying a single word, his aura exploded as he charged forward. Boom! In the blink of an eye, a man and a beast collided in the air. A world-destroying aura immediately surged out in all directions like a torrent. The nearby giant peaks were instantly reduced to ashes. With a single collision, it was comparable to destroying the heavens and earth. A man and a beast also retreated at the same time, with a trace of blood dripping from the corner of their mouths. "Follow me." Qin Feiyang glanced at the destroyed mountains and rivers. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he flew towards the clouds. "Reckless human." Lei Bao laughed coldly and followed closely behind Qin Feiyang. His terrifying aura shook the clouds. He flew high into the sky. Qin Feiyang stopped and turned to look at Lei Bao. At this moment, he had activated the battle formula. His battle intent was overwhelming, as if a god of war had descended to the world, overlooking all living beings. Lei Bao looked at Qin Feiyang and felt a faint sense of oppression. A mere human can actually make me have such an illusion. How ridiculous. Lei Bao's pride did not allow him to fear humans. The next moment, Lei Bao stood up and turned into a human-shaped beast with surging battle aura. He pounced on Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang did not retreat at all. He raised his fist and smashed it towards Lei Bao. This was a battle without battle aura or battle formula. Bang! Bang! Rumble! A man and a beast collided crazily in the air. The deafening rumbles were like thunder, resounding through the heavens and earth. What's going on? He's actually fighting with the beasts here? In the distance, a figure flew across the sky and landed on a nearby mountain peak. It was Lu Zheng. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang and Lei Bao with suspicion in his eyes. But gradually, a trace of surprise appeared on Lu Zheng's face. Back in the Black Dragon Pool, he had fought with Qin Feiyang, so he knew better than anyone the strength and power of Qin Feiyang's physical body. The power of that punch was enough to seriously injure any human or beast of the same realm. But at this moment, Lei Bao's physical fitness was actually comparable to Qin Feiyang. Not bad. Lu Zheng nodded in appreciation. However, Lei Bao's heart was not so calm at this moment. Although it suppressed its cultivation, everyone knew that the body of a ferocious beast was naturally stronger than that of a human. But it could not suppress the other party. It could not figure it out. How could this human's physical body be so terrifying? On the other hand, Qin Feiyang. The more he fought, the braver he became. He was unstoppable. Every punch he threw out contained his peak strength, causing the void to distort. Gradually, Lei Bao found that it was a little difficult to resist. Crack! Qin Feiyang clenched his 5 fingers, and the power in his body surged out along his arm and condensed on his fist. Not only are you stupid, but you also have no eyesight. You deliberately chose to provoke me when I'm in a bad mood. He smirked and threw a punch forward. The rift within 100 li began to twist. In a bad mood? Lu Zheng was stunned. Shouldn't he be happy to get the Tree of Creation and the ancient pagoda, as well as a large number of subordinates? Why was his mood not good? At that time, in order to avoid Wang Jin, he turned around and slipped away. Then, he wandered around the ancient pagoda alone. Not long ago, when Qin Feiyang summoned Wang Yangfeng and the more than 2,000 combat emperors, he was very far away at that time and did not hear it. So until now, he still did not know that Qin Feiyang's mother had been kidnapped by the state preceptor. Then do you know that I'm not in a good mood right now? Lei Bao confronted him head-on. Its fan-like claws blasted toward Qin Feiyang's fist. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted in the sky, shaking the entire area. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered back. But at the same time, Lei Bao's claws were shattered. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere. His huge body flew out like a meteorite. How is this possible? After fighting for so long, my strength has become weaker and weaker. But his strength is the same as before. There is no change at all. No. There is a change, but he has become stronger. Lei Bao's eyes were filled with disbelief. Could it be that the more he fought, the stronger he became? Boom! Qin Feiyang stabilized his body and looked up at Lei Bao. His sharp eyes were like blades. Lei Bao could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Next, your mood will be even worse. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Like a divine rainbow, he rushed out. His aura surged and shook the mountains and rivers. What a terrifying human. He doesn't know fatigue, he doesn't know pain. He is simply a fighting machine, Lei Bao murmured. A terrifying glint appeared in his eyes. Boom! It forcefully stabilized its body that was flying backward. Then, it stepped on the void with all four of its limbs and rushed toward Qin Feiyang like an arrow. In an instant, a man and a beast collided. But before the collision, Lei Bao's body surged with a dazzling power of thunder and lightning. Qin Feiyang was blasted away on the spot. His arm was bleeding and his flesh was torn. Even his bones were exposed. Despicable. Lu Zheng cursed in his heart. Lei Bao looked coldly at Qin Feiyang and said, "Before the battle, I did not say that you are not allowed to use battle qi." After saying that, he smiled coldly and bared his fangs. Once again, he charged toward Qin Feiyang. He wanted to take advantage of the victory to pursue. But he had obviously underestimated Qin Feiyang. As long as he suppressed his cultivation realm, no matter what he did, he would not be a match for Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took a step forward, causing the void to distort. After stabilizing his body, he raised his arm and slammed his palm into the air. Crash! A dazzling golden light swept through the sky like a tide and rushed toward Lei Bao. Lei Bao did not dodge and crashed into it. Aoo! At that moment, it let out a painful scream. Blood flowed from its head and instantly dyed its entire body red. Then, like a cannonball, it crashed into the ground below, creating a deep pit. Swish! Qin Feiyang chased after it like lightning. His index finger pointed in the air. An invisible force roared out, tearing open Lei Bao's lower abdomen and entering his qi si. Roar! The pain of his qi si being torn apart made Lei Bao unable to help but let out a pig-like howl again. Qin Feiyang lowered his arm and stepped on Lei Bao's head. Boom! Lei Bao's entire head sank into the ground. Qin Feiyang sneered, "The moment you suppressed your cultivation realm, your defeat was already destined." "I refuse to accept this," Lei Bao roared. Chapter 1253. Not convinced? Qin Feiyang sneered, "Then I'll beat you up like how you beat the Valley Master and the rest." After saying that, he stomped his foot again. With a bang, half of Lei Bao's body was buried in the soil. "I just can't accept it. I still have a lot of tricks that I haven't used yet. If you have the ability, wait until I recover my sea of qi before continuing." Lei Bao roared. Humph! Qin Feiyang snorted from his nose, grabbed Lei Bao's tail and dragged it out of the soil, then threw it up and kicked Lei Bao's butt. Ow! Lei Bao immediately screamed and flew into the sky like a meteorite. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang rushed into the sky and stood in the sky. When Lei Bao flew up, he kicked it again. Lei Bao screamed again and shot down. Just like that. It was like a rubber ball that was kicked up and down by Qin Feiyang. In less than a moment, its body was swollen with countless big lumps and its bones were about to fall apart. Stop kicking, I'm convinced," Lei Bao compromised. If this continued, it was afraid that it would really be kicked to death. "Then do you want to be my mount?" Qin Feiyang said coldly. Yes. Lei Bao nodded repeatedly. Why was it so unlucky to meet such a fiend? Why was it so stupid to suppress its cultivation? At this moment, there was nothing left in its heart except for regret. I thought how hard your bones are. Qin Feiyang snorted and landed on the ground with Lei Bao. Then, he formed a seal with both hands, and an enslavement seal quickly condensed and sank into Lei Bao's head. Ah, what did you do to me? Lei Bao roared in pain. Qin Feiyang ignored it and looked up at the top of a mountain, saying in a deep voice, "How long are you going to peek there? There's someone else?" Lei Bao was surprised. Am I peeking? He's clearly watching the battle openly. Lu Zheng jumped down and landed in front of Qin Feiyang with a grin. He looked at Lei Bao and shook his head, saying, "What an unlucky guy." Lei Bao gnashed his teeth in anger. Qin Feiyang took out a spirit sea pill and threw it to Lei Bao. He looked at Lu Zheng and said angrily, "Tell me, how old are you this year? Why are you always so frivolous?" Lu Zheng was stunned. He frowned and said, "Did you take the wrong medicine today?" Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and glared at Lu Zheng. But in the end, he let go of his hand and said expressionlessly, "Do whatever you want. I didn't expect you to help me anyway. What happened to you today? Why do you treat everyone like you've eaten gunpowder?" Lu Zheng frowned. Who? Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and turned to look at Lei Bao. He said lightly, "There will be a fierce battle soon. Hurry up and repair your sea of energy." "It's none of my business." Lei Bao snorted. With a thought from Qin Feiyang, Lei Bao immediately fell to the ground, rolling and howling in pain. "You'd better not force me to do it again." Qin Feiyang coldly glanced at it. Then, with a flash, he disappeared without a trace. "Damn, are you that awesome?" Lei Bao cursed angrily. "He's really awesome." Lu Zheng glanced at it and said. Lei Bao was stunned. He turned to Lu Zheng and asked, "You should be familiar with each other, right? Then do you know what the mark that swept into my head was? That's called the enslavement mark. It can control the soul of a living being. In other words, as long as he willed it, he would be able to erase your soul and peek into your inner thoughts." After Lu Zheng finished speaking, he opened a teleportation door and walked in with large strides. He felt that, Qin Feiyang felt that something was wrong. Soul control, Lei Bao was dumbfounded. It was too late for regrets. If it had known this would happen, it would not have suppressed its cultivation realm even if it was beaten to death. In the forest, Wang Xiaojie was still kneeling. His legs were already numb. Whoosh! Lu Zheng appeared in front of him out of thin air and said in surprise, "Little Munchkin, are you really going to keep kneeling? As long as Master doesn't accept me as his disciple, I won't get up." Wang Xiaojie nodded. "Then do as you wish." Lu Zheng shrugged and asked, "Did anything happen while I was away?" Wang Xiaojie lowered his head and pondered for a while. He looked up at Lu Zheng and said, "There seems to be something." "What is it?" Lu Zheng perked up. Wang Xiaojie said, "Not long ago, Master suddenly appeared and gathered a lot of people. He said that he was going out to look for mistress." "Mistress?" Lu Zheng was suspicious. Wang Xiaojie said, "Master's mother." "Aunt." Lu Zheng's body trembled. Why would his little cousin gather everyone to look for aunt? Could it be that, his expression suddenly changed? He looked at Wang Xiaojie and said, "Where is your master now?" Wang Xiaojie pointed in a direction and said, "I saw him and 2 other people go to the mountain peak over there." Without waiting for Wang Xiaojie to finish speaking, Lu Zheng flew into the sky and scanned the mountain range in front of him. Very soon, he saw Ren Wushuang and Old Master. Qin Feiyang was also standing at the edge of the cliff at this moment. Whoosh! Lu Zheng turned into a stream of light and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He grabbed Qin Feiyang's clothes and shouted, "Did something happen to Aunt?" Qin Feiyang looked at him coldly. After a long time, he nodded and said, yes. Damn. Lu Zheng punched Qin Feiyang in the face and said angrily, such a big thing happened. Why didn't you send me a message as soon as possible? Would it work if I sent you a message? Qin Feiyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said. Nonsense, I can also help think of a way. Yes, she is your mother. But don't forget, she is also my aunt. What right do you have to hide it from me? Lu Zheng roared. What are they arguing about? The argument between the two alarmed old master and Ren Wuxuang. Ren Wuxuang asked suspiciously. Old master glanced at Qin Feiyang and Wang Xiaojia, looked at the grave in front of him, and said, go and take a look. Ren Duxing had been buried, and the tombstone was ready. In front of the tombstone, there were 2 burning candles, 2 exquisite fruit plates, a wine pot, and a wine cup. This was specially prepared by Ren Wuxuang. What about you? Ren Wuxuang asked. Old master said, I'll stay here and accompany your father for a while. Ren Wuxuang sighed deeply, turned around, and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. Looking at the two who were staring at each other, he asked, what's wrong with you? Don't meddle in our business. Lu Zheng let go of Qin Feiyang's clothes, glanced coldly at Ren Wuxuang, and then turned to look at the mountains below, with cold light surging in his eyes. Ren Wuxuang glanced at Lu Zheng and asked suspiciously, who is he? I don't think I've seen him before. My cousin. He suddenly appeared recently. Qin Feiyang said. Cousin? Ren Wuxuang was surprised. Suddenly. Lu Zheng turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, take me out. Out for what? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. It's none of your business. Lu Zheng said. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He didn't want to look for trouble, so he directly sent Lu Zheng out of the ancient tower. Both of you don't look too good. Did something big happen? And, how did my father die? Ren Wuxuang said. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice, your father was killed by Mu Tianyang, and now a big thing has happened. My mother was taken away by the imperial preceptor. What? Ren Wuxuang's face turned pale. No wonder Qin Feiyang suddenly sent a message to her and asked everyone to come to the Sea of Reincarnation. It turned out that it was to prevent the imperial preceptor from harming them. Wait. Isn't Mu Tianyang the emperor of the Celestial Empire? How could my father have anything to do with him? Ren Wuxuang asked in surprise. It's like this, Qin Feiyang briefly told Ren Wuxuang through the voice transmission, including the matter of Lu Xingchen. After listening, Ren Wuxuang couldn't come back to her senses for a long time. She never expected that so many big things had happened in the past few years. You mean, my father has been possessed by Mu Tianyang a long time ago, and the father we saw in the ruins was actually Mu Tianyang? Ren Wuxuang said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Xingchen is also Mu Tianyang? Ren Wuxuang said. That's right. This is why I asked you to persuade Shen Mei to stay away from him. Qin Feiyang said. That damn bastard, I will not let him get away. Ren Wuxuang clenched her jade-like hands tightly, making cracking sounds. Her face was full of grief and anger. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Ren Wuxuang and said seriously, you are no match for him. Don't go looking for him. Leave it to me. Also, it's best not to tell the old man about this. He is already pitiful enough to see his son die before him. We can't let him worry about these things anymore. Qin Feiyang added. I understand. Ren Wuxuang forced a smile, glanced at the village that was being built in front of them, and asked, are those villagers all mortals? Not all of them. But they are all very kind. Qin Feiyang said. Then let Grandpa live with them. I believe that when Grandpa feels the simplicity and kindness of those villagers, he will soon forget this pain. Ren Wuxiang said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Ren Wuxiang said, then you go and do your work. I will stay here and accompany Grandpa for a while. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and entered the castle. Looking at Dong Zhengyang, who was leaning against the wall with his head lowered, Qin Feiyang said, everyone has told you about my mother, right? Dong Zhengyang took a deep breath, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and nodded. Lu Hong told me everything, including Lu Xingchen's current identity. What about Dong Qing? Qin Feiyang said. She also told me. Dong Zhengyang nodded. Then do you hate me? Qin Feiyang said. I have always hated you. Dong Zhengyang said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, then you stay in the castle and cultivate. Strive to avenge your clansmen as soon as possible. Dong Zhengyang frowned and said, you keep me by your side. Aren't you worried that I will plot against you behind your back? Will you? Qin Feiyang asked. That's hard to say. Dong Zhengyang said. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, then it seems that I have to be on guard against you at all times. Dong Zhengyang shook his head and smiled. His eyes suddenly turned cold, and he said, the battle between us will definitely happen. But before that, I will kill Lu Xingchen and Mu Tianyang first. Send me out. It's time to leave. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Chapter 1254. Everyone thought that Dong Zhengyang would definitely stay in the castle to cultivate. Because Dong Zhengyang had no backing in the capital, he could only rely on his own efforts to fight for it. But if he followed Qin Feiyang, it would undoubtedly be a shortcut. But they never expected that he would actually leave. Lu Hong asked, aren't you going to stay? Dong Zhengyang glanced at everyone and said with a smile, I've never thought of staying by your side. Then what are you doing here? Wolf King was puzzled. Dong Zhengyang smiled faintly and said, I haven't seen you all for a long time, right? That's why I'm here. Everyone looked at each other. Qin Feiyang asked, if you go back now, aren't you afraid that the state preceptor will plot against you behind your back? Yes. He even dared to plot against little Qin Zi's mother, let alone you. Wolf King said. In fact, everyone had a good impression of Dong Zhengyang. Because he was not hypocritical. I'm just a nobody. Why would he plot against me? Moreover, the state preceptor should know that I'm not on good terms with you all. If he plots against me, he won't be able to threaten you at all. Dong Zhengyang said with a smile. You've seen through it quite clearly. Lu Hong said. After going through so much, if I still can't see through it, wouldn't I be a fool? Well, let's part ways here. The next time we meet may be many years later. Dong Zhengyang said with a smile. Qin Feiyang cupped his hands and said, take care. Take care. Dong Zhengyang also cupped his hands and smiled. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and Dong Zhengyang disappeared. The double-winged snow eagle said strangely, is there something wrong with this person's brain? Why would he leave with such good conditions? Everyone has their own aspirations. You can't force them. As for you saying that there's something wrong with his brain, I can tell you very responsibly that not only is there nothing wrong with Dong Zhengyang's brain, he's actually smarter than anyone else. He must have a plan for doing this. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Hong said, do you think he'll seek refuge with Lu Xingchen? Absolutely not. That's because I didn't kill all of the Dong clan members back then. At first, I couldn't figure it out. Where did these people go? However, when I saw Dong Qing, I knew that she must have been killed by Lu Xingchen. That is to say, it was Lu Xingchen who ended the Dong clan's bloodline. This is why Dong Zhengyang said that he would first kill Lu Xingchen and Mu Tianyang before fighting me. So, he definitely won't go to Lu Xingchen. Qin Feiyang said. Lu Hong sighed and said, if it weren't for the deep grudge, this person would be worth making friends with. There was a trace of regret on Qin Feiyang's face. Swoosh. The next moment, he appeared on the island, looking at the endless sea and waiting anxiously. Lu Hong and the others all went into seclusion. Because they all knew that it was useless to worry. Moreover, even if Wang Yangfeng and the others found Qin Feiyang's mother, they couldn't help much. Therefore, it was better to calm down and cultivate to become stronger as soon as possible. In the ancient pagoda, everything was normal. Wang Xiaojie was still kneeling. The villagers were all building their homes. Ren Wushuang stood in front of Ren Duxing's grave with the old man, crying silently. After Lei Bao repaired his sea of qi, he racked his brains to think of a way to break the slave seal. Time flew. It was midnight. The sea of reincarnation in the night was still full of strong winds and huge waves, but compared to the day, there was an unfathomable sense of mystery. And a day passed. There was no news of Wang Yangfeng. Qin Feiyang's heart became more and more anxious. It could be said that his heart had never been so chaotic all these years. Swish. Suddenly, one figure after another appeared in the sky above the island. Qin Feiyang hurriedly looked up, but the person who appeared was not Wang Yangfeng. But he was not disappointed. Because the people who came were Fatso and Viper. And behind the two of them, there was a man and two women, all of whom looked middle-aged. Qin Feiyang went up to them, looked at the three of them, and bowed. Uncle Yen, Auntie Shui, and Auntie. That's right. The three of them were Yen Nanshan, Luo Qianxue, and Ling Yunfei's mother, Lu Ji. Fatso has already told us about your mother. It's been hard on you. Luo Qianxue walked in front of Qin Feiyang and reached out to stroke the messy long hair on Qin Feiyang's forehead. It's okay. This little blow can't knock me down. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yen Nanshan said, silly boy, if you have any bitterness in your heart, just say it. Although we can't help you much, you'll feel better if you say it. Yeah. You used to take care of us. Now, we want to share your burden. Lu Ji also said. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Uncle Yen, but I'm really fine. Qin Feiyang smiled. The three of them looked at each other helplessly. This child was good at everything, but he was too strong. Qin Feiyang glanced behind them and asked suspiciously, where are Yi and the mermaid princess? Why don't I see them? This, Fatty and Viper looked at each other. Both of them wanted to say something but didn't. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel uneasy. He urged, what's going on? Tell me. Let me tell you. They're missing. Yen Nanshan said. What? How did they go missing? Qin Feiyang's expression changed. Yen Nanshan shook his head and said, no one knows how they went missing. No one even knows when they went missing. Then how did you find out? Qin Feiyang asked. 2 months ago, I went to find them for something, but I found that there was no one in the divine palace. At first, I thought that they were just out to play. But after a few days, I didn't see them come back. I started to feel that something was wrong. I quickly sent them a message, but it was like throwing stones into the sea. I also thought of looking for you, but I couldn't enter the imperial capital. Feiyang, I'm really sorry. I didn't take good care of them. Yen Nanshan lowered his head, his face full of self-blame and apology. It's not your fault. Qin Feiyang comforted him. He looked at Fatso and Viper and asked, did you look for them? Fatso said, we looked everywhere. We even went to the Sea of Despair, but we couldn't find them. Viper said, We also thought that the state preceptor might have taken them away. So we went to Elder Qin. He told us that the state preceptor didn't go to the spiritual state at all in the past 2 to 3 months. What about the others? Or is it possible that the state preceptor went to the spiritual state through the teleportation altars in the other 8 states? Qin Feiyang asked. We also thought of this problem. Elder Qin even went to the other 8 states to check for us. In the end, no one used the teleportation altars in the past few months. In other words, their disappearance has nothing to do with the state preceptor. Fatso said. Other than the state preceptor, who else would go after me? Master Tower? The Mu family? Or Lu Xingchen? Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead, extremely irritated. Why did so many things happen so suddenly? It's impossible for the Master Tower and the Mu family. Because of the snow python, they can't enter the spiritual state. As for Lu Xingchen, when Yi and the others went missing, we haven't killed Ren Duxing yet. It shouldn't be him. So we and Uncle Yen agree that. Fatso glanced at Qin Feiyang and didn't dare to continue. Why do you think? Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Fatso said, they might have gone out to train and encountered an accident. No. Qin Feiyang flatly rejected this possibility. Viper couldn't bear it and said, Young master, I know it's hard for you to accept, but this is the most likely possibility. Wrong. I am connected to the mermaid princess by the concentric knot. If she dies, I will die too. Qin Feiyang said. Fatty was stunned for a moment before he said in realization, that's right. How could I forget about this? But since they didn't encounter an accident, why can't we find them? Why didn't they say goodbye when they left? This question puzzled everyone. You guys go to the castle and rest. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent everyone to the castle, leaving only Fatso outside. Boss, don't worry too much. Although we don't know where they are now, at least we know they are still alive. Fatso comforted. Qin Feiyang nodded and sat on a reef next to him. He lowered his head and pondered. Fatso stood aside and looked at the frowning Qin Feiyang. He couldn't help but feel distressed. First, his mother was kidnapped by the state preceptor, and then the 2 women he cared about the most inexplicably disappeared. Fortunately, it was Qin Feiyang. If it was someone else, they would have gone crazy. But he also knew. Although Qin Feiyang looked as calm as usual, his heart was more chaotic than anyone else. Why am I so useless? At this time, can't I share some of boss's burden? Fatso patted his head hard and was extremely vexed. Something is wrong. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stood up abruptly. His face was full of shock and doubt. The fatty jumped in fright and asked, What's wrong? State preceptor. Qin Feiyang said. What is wrong with him? Fatso looked at him in confusion. No, something is really wrong. Qin Feiyang shook his head as if he was thinking about something. Fatty was completely dumbfounded by him. Damn it! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's body trembled. He shouted angrily and quickly took out the image crystal. Buzz! After a while, a shadow appeared. It was Wang Yongfeng. There were 6 8-star combat emperors beside Wang Yongfeng. Qin Feiyang shouted, Elder Wang, contact everyone immediately and ask them to come back immediately. Wang Yongfeng was stunned and said in surprise, There is news of mistress? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head. No? Wang Yongfeng was stunned and asked, Then why are we going back? Are we not going to look for her? Qin Feiyang shouted, Don't ask so many questions. Come back immediately. Okay. Wang Yongfeng nodded and turned off the image crystal. He looked at the 6 8-star combat emperors and asked suspiciously, What do you think the young master is doing? The 6 of them shook their heads, looking confused. Wang Yangfeng shook his head and said, "Forget it. Do as the young master said and inform the others." Chapter 1255. At the same time. On the island. Fatso frowned and asked in confusion, "Boss, what exactly did you think of? Tell me first, why did the imperial tutor kidnap my mother?" Qin Feiyang asked instead of answering. Fatso frowned and said, "Are you testing Fat Lord's IQ? Of course, it's to take revenge on you." "Wrong." Qin Feiyang said. "What's wrong?" Fatso did not understand. "If the imperial tutor is purely here to take revenge on me, he would have sent someone to find me by now and used my mother as a bargaining chip to get me to surrender. But now, he didn't send anyone to find me. Instead, he chose to pretend to be deaf and mute and let me find her myself." Qin Feiyang said. "After hearing what you said, it does seem that something is wrong." Fatso frowned. "If I'm not wrong, his revenge on me is only one of the reasons. The other reason is because of Wang Yangfeng and the rest." Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. "Wang Yangfeng?" Fatso was surprised. "Yes. Think about it, the sea of reincarnation is so big. Can I find her with my own ability? Definitely not. Then what should I do? I'll naturally get Wang Yangfeng and the rest to help me find her. And this is what the imperial tutor wants." Qin Feiyang said. "Fat Lord understands. He's using your mother as bait to lure Wang Yangfeng and the rest out of the ancient pagoda and then defeat them one by one." Fatso said. "That's right." Qin Feiyang nodded and slapped his head hard, saying in annoyance, "I'm so stupid. I didn't even think of such a simple logic." Fatso sighed. This state preceptor was really a cunning old fox. The imperial tutor knew that Qin Feiyang was meticulous and impeccable when he was calm. Therefore, he kidnapped Qin Feiyang's mother to make Qin Feiyang panic. This way, he would be able to carry out his plan perfectly. On one hand, he could regain control of the lives of Wang Yangfeng and the others. On the other hand, he could get rid of Qin Feiyang. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. However, the state preceptor had underestimated Qin Feiyang. Even if Qin Feiyang's mind was in a mess, he could still maintain a trace of rationality and calm. Even though he had no idea how the 2,000 battle monarchs were doing, he was sure that Wang Yangfeng was fine. In other words, even if the state preceptor had already taken action, it was not to the extent of being completely wiped out. Whoosh! Soon, Wang Yangfeng led the 6 8-star combat emperors back to the island. Wang Yangfeng immediately ran to Qin Feiyang and said anxiously, "Young master, something's wrong." "What is it?" Qin Feiyang's heart sank. Wang Yangfeng said, "There are many people we can't contact." He had heard of it. Qin Feiyang and Fatso looked at each other. It seemed that what they were worried about had really happened. "Young master, what exactly is going on?" The 6 8-star combat emperors also ran up and asked, their faces full of worry. Qin Feiyang comforted them. "Everyone, calm down first. We'll talk about it when the others come back." As soon as he finished speaking, whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, more than 10 people returned. "Greetings, young master." "Young master, why did you suddenly call us back?" The 10 over people landed in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed. They then looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "We'll talk about it later," Qin Feiyang said. The 10 over people looked at each other and walked behind Wang Yangfeng with a suspicious look. Qin Feiyang scanned the night sky, his eyebrows furrowed with worry. Suddenly, there was a flash in his eyes and he turned to look at Wang Yangfeng and the rest. "Why are you looking at us?" The group was puzzled. Qin Feiyang said, Fatso, give them the facial restoration elixir to verify their identities. Verify our identities? Young master, why are you doing this? Wang Yangfeng and the others were puzzled. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I'm thinking of everyone's safety. He did this to prevent the descendants of the imperial preceptor from pretending to be villagers and sneaking into the ancient tower. This possibility was not impossible. Because the previous owner of the ancient tower was the imperial preceptor, and the ancient tower was a spatial divine item. The imperial preceptor would definitely not give it up so easily. Fatso took out dozens of facial restoration elixirs and looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others. I admit that my boss and I are a little disrespectful to you now, but at this time, we can't make any mistakes. I hope you can understand. The group of people frowned. The young master must have his reasons for doing this. Don't be suspicious, just do as he says. Wang Yangfeng was the first to walk out. He walked in front of Fatso, grabbed a facial restoration elixir, and threw it into his mouth. Seeing this, the others shook their heads and smiled. They also followed and took a facial restoration elixir. A moment later, no one changed at all. But Qin Feiyang did not relax. He looked at Fatso and said, anyone who comes back later must have their identity verified first. Fatso said, that facial restoration elixir may not be enough. That's simple. Dan Wangkai, refine the facial restoration elixir immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Dan Wangkai, who was in the ancient castle, immediately took out his Qianquan bag, looked for medicinal herbs, and opened the furnace to refine the elixir. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others and said, Elder Wang, you stay outside and help us. The others go to the ancient tower first. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Except for Elder Wang, everyone disappeared in an instant. He was doing this just in case. If someone really sneaked in and was found out, they would definitely be driven to desperation. If the other party was a 9-star war emperor, then these people would undoubtedly be in danger if they stayed outside. Wang Yangfeng was different. He was a 9-star war emperor. At the critical moment, he could still help. Whoosh! Next. One by one, they returned one after another. When they saw that they had to verify their identities, they all looked puzzled. Those who had no problem with their identities were immediately sent to the ancient tower by Qin Feiyang. Soon, those 9-star war emperors also returned one after another. They all stayed outside to help. Qin Feiyang also briefly explained the situation to them. After learning about it, their hearts were also heavy. Time flew by. 1 hour passed. Whoosh! Another 8 people returned. Among them, there were 4 5-star war emperors, 3 6-star war emperors and 1 7-star war emperor. Greetings, young master. The 8 of them landed in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fatso immediately stepped forward and took out 8 facial restoration elixirs, saying, one for each of you. This is facial restoration elixir. Why do we have to take the facial restoration elixir? One of the middle-aged burly men frowned and asked. Wang Yangfeng said, this is the young master's arrangement, no need to ask further. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously, stepped forward one after another, grabbed a facial restoration elixir, and threw it into their mouths. The middle-aged burly man who spoke also walked towards Fatso. But when he was about to reach Fatso, murderous intent surged in his eyes. He suddenly turned around and slammed his palm towards Qin Feiyang's head. As I expected. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. At the same time, Wang Yangfeng and a group of 9-star war emperors attacked the middle-aged burly man in unison. The middle-aged burly man turned pale with fright. How did they react so quickly? This time. On the contrary, he was the one who was caught off guard. Under the group attack of Wang Yangfeng and the others, the middle-aged burly man screamed and fell to the ground on the spot. Not only was his heart shattered, even his qi was destroyed. Blood gushed out. How dare you plot against the young master, you're simply courting death. Wang Yangfeng stepped forward and was about to end the middle-aged burly man's life. Elder Wang, keep him alive. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. Wang Yangfeng turned to look at him in confusion. He still has value. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he said to Fatso, facial restoration pill. Fatso nodded, immediately stepped forward, and stuffed a facial restoration pill into the middle-aged burly man's mouth. At that moment, the middle-aged burly man's appearance began to change. Finally, an old face appeared. Qin Feiyang had seen this face before. It was one of the 5 people who had saved the imperial tutor back then. The imperial tutor is really willing to let you, a 9-star war emperor, die. Qin Feiyang sneered. The old man laughed sinisterly. Don't even think about getting any information about your mother from me. It's not up to you. Qin Feiyang formed a seal with both hands, and the slavery seal instantly appeared. Seeing this, the old man's expression changed. The slavery seal swept into the top of his head, and he immediately hugged his head and howled miserably. But at the next moment, he actually let out a roar, and like a raging bull, he rammed his head against a reef. Crack! His head was smashed on the spot, and blood gushed out. Just wait, you'll come down to accompany me soon. The old man turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with resentment, then fell to the ground and breathed his last. This, Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other. Was this suicide? Didn't these people care about their own lives at all? Qin Feiyang was also somewhat caught off guard. Last time, the one self-destructed without a word. This time, this one would rather die than be controlled by him. Why were the descendants of the imperial tutor more ruthless than the other? Whoosh! At this time, more than a dozen people came back. After verifying their identities, they were all sent to the ancient pagoda. After waiting for a long time, seeing that no one came back, Qin Feiyang turned to look at Wang Yangfeng and asked, how many people came back in total? More than 1,200 people. Wang Yangfeng said. It's actually less than half. Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled. Wang Yangfeng said, but fortunately, the 9-star combat emperors are all back. No. Wang Yishan is still missing. An old man next to him said. Wang Yishan. Wang Yangfeng was stunned, looking at the person behind him, his expression suddenly changed. Who is Wang Yishan? Qin Feiyang asked. Wang Yangfeng said in a deep voice, it's that red-haired old man with a bad temper. Damn it! Qin Feiyang cursed and asked, how many 8-star combat emperors and 7-star combat emperors came back? Wang Yangfeng said, only a dozen 8-star combat emperors came back, and only about 50 7-star combat emperors came back. We lost so many. Qin Feiyang's face turned pale. If he remembered correctly, Wang Yangfeng said that there were 156 8-star combat emperors in the village. And there were more than 500 7-star combat emperors. But now, only a few of them came back. Young lord, don't blame yourself. There are so many of us, but we didn't expect the state preceptor to have such a plan, let alone you who was in a mess at that time. Wang Yangfeng comforted him. But the worry in his expression was hard to hide. Actually, you're not bad. Yes, if you didn't think of asking us to come back in time, I'm afraid we would have fallen into their hands. The group of 9-star combat emperors at the side also smiled and comforted him, but the smiles on their faces were very forced. No matter what, I have an unshirkable responsibility. I promise you that I will save them. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others and said solemnly. We believe in you. Chapter 1256. Although they didn't understand why Qin Feiyang's strength had fallen from a 9-star combat emperor to a 1-star combat emperor. But after the battle in Ice Valley, they had deeply realized that this man couldn't be looked at with ordinary eyes. So, they had full confidence in Qin Feiyang. But what worried them now was whether those people who had lost contact were still alive. Qin Feiyang saw their worry and comforted them, "Don't worry. If the imperial tutor wanted to kill them, he wouldn't have to go through so much trouble now." Fatso asked, "But with the imperial tutor in charge, can we save them?" "No. The imperial tutor is not in the reincarnation sea," Qin Feiyang said. "How do you know?" Fatso was suspicious. Wang Yangfeng and the others also looked at him in surprise. Pay attention to the details. Why is it that there is only one 9-star combat emperor but more than half of the 8-star and 7-star combat emperors lost contact? There is only one reason. They don't have the confidence to deal with so many 9-star combat emperors at once. And if the imperial tutor is here, with his pseudo-god cultivation, isn't it very simple? So this plan, the imperial tutor must be planning behind the scenes and didn't participate in it personally. Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. If the imperial tutor participated in it personally, we 9-star combat emperors would definitely be their first target. Wang Yangfeng nodded. Fatso frowned and said, "That's strange. Why didn't the imperial tutor participate in it personally?" Qin Feiyang said, "Maybe he was delayed by something, or it could be a maze." Maze? Fatso, Wang Yangfeng, and the others were stunned. What did this mean? The so-called bewilderment array refers to the imperial preceptor creating an illusion that he is not in the sea of reincarnation to deceive us and make us careless. If that's the case, then we are in trouble. Because this means that he is serious. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other. The current situation was like a game of chess where danger lurked in every direction. One wrong move and he would be smashed to pieces. They were also unable to believe what this young man in front of them had experienced in the past. To think that she could see through everything so clearly. If it were them, it would be impossible for them to think so much. What do we do now? Fatso asked. Wait. They kidnapped my mother and their main target is me. They will definitely take the initiative to find me. Qin Feiyang sneered. Fatso said, "All right then, send me to the castle to cultivate. I can't help you anyway." Qin Feiyang nodded and waved his hand, sending Fatso to the castle. Immediately after, he looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others and asked, "What about you guys?" "We will stay here to protect you," Wang Yangfeng said. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people gratefully, then turned to look at the sea, his eyes flickering. In the village, including Wang Yangfeng, there were a total of 18 9-star combat emperors. And now, only Wang Yishan had not returned. In other words, there were 17 9-star combat emperors standing beside him at this moment. This force, if it was in the past, he would not even dare to think about it. No. There was also Lei Bao. Moreover, Lei Bao was the king of all the beasts in the ancient pagoda. Subduing it was equivalent to subduing all the beasts. And in the ancient pagoda, there must be a lot of 9-star combat emperor beasts. Bewildering array, Qin Feiyang's mouth gradually curled into a sneer. He could already confirm that this was a bewildering array designed by the imperial preceptor. Because, whether it was the strength of the village or the beasts in the ancient pagoda, the imperial preceptor was very clear about it. Naturally, he also knew that if the false god did not come out, no one could compete with him. "You want to play?" I'll play with you to the end. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. Of course. In addition to the Imperial Preceptor, he also had to be careful of the Imperial Preceptor's descendants. Because he could not exclude the fact that there were other false gods hidden among the Imperial Preceptor's descendants. Time flew by. The sun slowly rose, shining on the turbulent sea. During this period, many sea beasts ran out to attack, but they were all easily dealt with by Wang Yangfeng and the others. And after so long, no one came back. This meant that the remaining 1,000 combat emperors had already met with misfortune. Buzz. The sun was high in the sky. Suddenly, the image crystal buzzed. Qin Feiyang hurriedly took out the image crystal, but found that it was not his image crystal that was buzzed. He looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others. It's mine. Wang Yangfeng said, took out the image crystal, and poured battle qi into it. Buzz. An illusionary figure appeared. It was the red-haired old man, Wang Yishan. Wang Yangfeng was stunned and hurriedly asked, "Where are you now?" "What about you?" Wang Yishan asked. "See for yourself." Wang Yangfeng's image crystal turned and faced Qin Feiyang. "Greetings, Master." Wang Yishan immediately bowed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and asked, "Where are you? Why couldn't I contact you before?" Wang Yishan said, "This night, I've been investigating the whereabouts of the mistress. I didn't dare to send a message for fear of being discovered." "What do you mean?" Wang Yangfeng was slightly stunned and said in surprise, "Have you already found the mistress?" "Yes." Wang Yishan nodded. "Where is she?" Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. Wang Yangfeng and the others were also overjoyed. Wang Yishan said, "I don't know where this is either. I only know that it's a very big island." "Then how did you find it?" Qin Feiyang asked. "Yesterday, when I was looking for the mistress, I accidentally met a 5-star combat emperor. He ran away when he saw me. Of course, I was suspicious, so I chased after him and captured him. Then, under my interrogation, he told me that he was actually the descendant of the state preceptor. He was the one who brought me to this island." Wang Yishan rode. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. "Good, good, good. Give me the coordinates. I'll go find you right away." Wang Yishan nodded and gave Qin Feiyang the coordinates. Then, the virtual image dissipated. Wang Yangfeng put away the image crystal and said with a smile, "I was scared to death. I really thought that he was caught by the state preceptor. It turns out that he found the whereabouts of the mistress." However, Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Seeing Qin Feiyang's expression, Wang Yangfeng was slightly stunned and asked in confusion, "Young master, shouldn't you be happy that you found the mistress?" Qin Feiyang looked up at Wang Yangfeng, shook his head, and sighed. "It's not what you think." "What do you mean?" Wang Yangfeng was suspicious. The others also looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyang asked, "Since you followed me, what have you called me?" "Young master." Wang Yangfeng said. Qin Feiyang said, "But just now, Wang Yishan called me master." This, Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at each other, and their expressions slowly became gloomy. Although it was just a title, the meaning was completely different. Young master was a respectful title. It was neither humble nor presumptuous. But master was the title of a servant to their master. Why did Wang Yishan suddenly change the way he addressed the young master? Without a doubt, he must be hinting at something. It's already certain that he is controlled, but fortunately, the blood-soul technique can't peek into his inner thoughts. Qin Feiyang said. "What can you do?" Wang Yangfeng asked. Qin Feiyang said, "First of all, we have to find where the island Wang Yishan mentioned is. Didn't he give us the coordinates?" An old woman said. "Do you dare to go?" "Anyway, I don't dare, because the state preceptor is very likely to be lying in ambush there. As soon as we appear, he will catch us all in one net. Qin Feiyang said. Then how do we find it? There are countless islands in the Sea of Reincarnation. Just half a day ago, I encountered dozens of islands of various sizes. If we have to search one by one, I don't know how long it will take. The old woman said. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered. All of a sudden, he looked at the sea and a smile appeared on his face. What are you smiling about? Wang Yangfeng and the others looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang asked, what is the most abundant in this sea? The old woman said, isn't that obvious? Of course it's the sea beasts. Yes. It's these sea beasts that can be of great help to us. Qin Feiyang smiled. Wang Yangfeng said, I understand. You want these sea beasts to help us find it. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Wang Yangfeng said, this idea is not bad, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to make them obedient. It's not difficult. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the thunder leopard appeared. What's the situation? Where is this? Looking at the endless sea, the thunder leopard was dumbfounded. Thunder leopard. At the same time, seeing the appearance of the thunder leopard, Wang Yangfeng and the others' expressions changed drastically. They retreated without hesitation, their eyes full of fear. Qin Feiyang said, don't worry, it has been subdued by me. Subdued? The group of people looked at each other, their faces full of disbelief. They had lived in the ancient tower for thousands of years and knew the thunder leopard's strength very well. It could be said that it used to be the little overlord of the ancient tower. Other than the state preceptor, no one dared to provoke it. Even the first valley master and second valley master had to be polite when they saw it. But they never expected that it would be subdued by the young master. Wang Yangfeng asked suspiciously, when did this happen? Why didn't we know? When you went to look for my mother. Qin Feiyang smiled, looked down at the thunder leopard, and said, is the outside world comfortable? This is the outside world? Why is it all water? The thunder leopard looked around. Qin Feiyang said, it seems that you don't know anything about the outside world. Now I'll give you a chance to learn about it. This can be done. The thunder leopard nodded repeatedly. But at the same time, there is a mission. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the shadows of Wang Yishan, his mother, and the state preceptor appeared one after another in the void. Find them and report to me immediately. Qin Feiyang said. The thunder leopard glanced at the three and said, where can I find them? You don't have to find them. As long as you subdue the sea beasts in the nearby sea area, or establish a relationship with the emperor of this sea area, they will naturally help you find them. But remember, you must not appear in front of the state preceptor, or you will have to bear the consequences. Qin Feiyang said. The state preceptor was the former owner of the ancient tower, so he definitely knew about the existence of the thunder leopard. No problem. Chapter 1257. Wait. Qin Feiyang shouted. What now? Lei Bao looked at him impatiently. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, I haven't finished explaining, why are you in such a hurry? Then tell me. Lei Bao roared. Qin Feiyang looked at it coldly and entered the castle. He asked Fatso for an unused image crystal and threw it to Lei Bao, saying, this is for you, it's convenient for us to contact each other. What is this? Lei Bao played with it curiously. You don't even know about the image crystal? Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and looked at Wang Yangfeng, saying, Elder Wang, explain to it and tell it how to use it. Okay. Elder Wang nodded, walked to Lei Bao's side, and explained in detail. So it's for communication. Lei Bao suddenly realized. After establishing the contract bridge, it looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Do you have any other instructions?" Qin Feiyang said, "If you want to play, I don't care. You can play as you wish, but the premise is that you have to complete the task I gave you first." "I know, you're so long-winded." Lei Bao waved its claws impatiently, turned around, and ran into the sea without looking back. Wang Yongfeng looked at Lei Bao's back and frowned. "Young master, is it really appropriate to let it go? No one is more suitable than it. First, it's strong enough to dominate this sea. You guys definitely don't have the confidence to do so." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. The group shook their heads and smiled bitterly. In terms of strength, they might not be a match for Lei Bao even if all of them worked together. Second, beasts are easier to communicate and get along with than beasts and humans. Third, it's controlled by the seal of slavery. No matter what it's thinking, I know it, so there's no need to worry about it betraying me. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. What exactly is the seal of slavery? Wang Yongfeng asked curiously. Qin Feiyang said, it's a divine art that can control the soul. Divine art? Everyone was dumbfounded. Casually mentioning a divine art, how many divine arts did this young lord have on him? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, you guys go to the ancient pagoda first and build the village as soon as possible. Alright. If there's anything, just call us out. Wang Yongfeng said. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the group of people to the ancient pagoda. Then, he also entered the ancient castle. Fatso looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Boss, you seem to be in a much better mood. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Now that he understood, there was no point in being anxious. As long as he knew that his mother was fine, it was fine. Before killing him, the state preceptor didn't dare to hurt his mother because the only thing that could threaten him was his mother. However, Fatso hesitated for a moment before he said, even if Lei Bao finds that island, we won't be able to defeat the imperial tutor with our strength. So I'm waiting. Qin Feiyang said. Waiting for what? Fatso was surprised. Waiting for Lu Zheng. Needless to say, he must have gone back to the Lu family to ask for help. With the Lu family's background, even if they can't kill the state preceptor, they should be able to restrain him. Qin Feiyang said. Fatso smiled and said, it seems that this guy is also a warm-hearted person. He's the kind of person who looks cynical on the surface but is very loyal in his heart. Besides, as he said, my mother is his aunt. He can't just stand by and do nothing. Qin Feiyang said. Fatso smiled, closed his eyes, and entered a state of cultivation. Qin Feiyang also opened the 6-word divine art again and began to copy the Xing formula. 10 days in the ancient castle was 1 day outside. He couldn't waste any more time. Time flew by. In the ancient castle, 10 days had passed. However, Qin Feiyang only copied 1/10 of the first stroke of the Xing formula. Fortunately, the rules of time in the ancient castle had changed. Otherwise, at this speed, he didn't know how long it would take to master the Xing formula. 10 days in the ancient castle was only 1 day outside. Lei Bao shouldn't be able to finish it so quickly, Qin Feiyang muttered and was ready to continue copying. But at this moment, the image crystal rang. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He took out the image crystal, and a shadow appeared. It was Lei Bao. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang asked. I found it. Lei Bao said. So fast? Qin Feiyang was shocked. Nonsense, don't you know who I am? Lei Bao smiled proudly and gave Qin Feiyang a coordinate, saying, I'll wait for you here. Come here. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded, quickly put away the image crystal, left the ancient castle, opened a portal, and walked in. The next moment, he descended on an island. The island wasn't big, only about half a mile in diameter. He could see the whole picture at a glance. I'm here. Lei Bao stood on a boulder in the middle of the island and waved his claws at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to look, only to see Lei Bao standing beside a seahorse. The seahorse was only 2 meters tall. It wasn't tall among the ranks of berserk beasts, but its aura made Qin Feiyang feel uneasy. Swish! Qin Feiyang flashed and landed in front of Lei Bao, asking, "This is?" Lei Bao said proudly, "He's my second brother." Second brother? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. It had only been a day, how did he have another brother? The seahorse looked at Qin Feiyang and said proudly, "I'm the emperor here, controlling 100,000 miles of sea." Qin Feiyang was stunned. It was so fast to call the emperor of this sea a brother. This guy was quite capable. The seahorse glanced at Qin Feiyang and asked in a low voice, "Big brother, he's your master?" "Yes." Lei Bao nodded unwillingly. "He's just a one-star combat emperor, worse than a weakling. I can send him thousands of miles away with a breath." "How did you lose to him?" The seahorse couldn't figure it out. "Weakling?" Qin Feiyang coughed and said with a dark face, "Don't forget that I'm still standing here." "So what?" The seahorse didn't care about him at all. It looked at Lei Bao and said, "Big brother, just say the word and I'll kill him for you." Cough, cough. Lei Bao choked and quickly waved his claws, saying, "You don't have to do such a small thing, second brother. I can handle it." What a joke. Its life was still in Qin Feiyang's hands. How dare it act rashly? "All right." The seahorse nodded. Qin Feiyang glanced at the seahorse, then looked at Lei Bao and asked, "Who did you find?" Lei Bao waved his claws and a red-haired old man appeared. It was Wan Yishan. Qin Feiyang asked, "Where is he?" "Over there." Lei Bao pointed at the sea in the distance. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked. He saw a huge island several dozen miles away. It was like a continent floating on the surface of the sea. The island was covered in mountains and lush vegetation. They could even sense the aura of combat emperors. Lei Bao said, "He's on that island. However, according to my second brother's investigation, there are other people on the island." Qin Feiyang looked at the seahorse and asked, "How many people are there?" 11. 10 of them are 9-star combat emperors, just like me. The remaining one is unfathomable. The sea beasts that I sent were killed before they could even get close to him. The seahorse said with a fierce look in his eyes. Qin Feiyang said in a low voice, "That's right. He's the imperial advisor." "Who the hell is the imperial advisor?" the seahorse asked. "The imperial advisor?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Then, he smiled helplessly. Ignorance was scary. If the imperial advisor heard this, the seahorse would be in danger. "Say something." The seahorse looked at him impatiently. Qin Feiyang said, "The imperial advisor is a pseudo-god." Pseudo-god. The seahorse's body trembled. His eyes were filled with fear. He looked at Lei Bao and said, "Big brother, you're not honest. How could you hide such an important thing from me?" "I didn't. I've seen him before, but I didn't know he was a pseudo-god." Lei Bao said. "Really?" The seahorse was doubtful. Lei Bao said, "We're brothers. Why would I lie to you?" "No. It's still too dangerous. I'll leave first. We'll meet again when you're done." The seahorse looked at the island, then dived into the sea and disappeared. "Fuck. You're still brothers, but you ran away just like that? You're not loyal at all." Lei Bao scolded. "Don't you know how long you've known him?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. It had only been a day. How could they become friends? What do you know? There's a kind of relationship in this world called old friends at first sight. Lei Bao snorted. I think it's more like birds of a feather. Qin Feiyang glanced at him with disdain. A cruel human like you won't understand. Lei Bao said disdainfully. I'm cruel? Qin Feiyang glared at him and said, if I'm cruel, you would have gone to see the king of hell long ago. Would you still have the chance to stand here and talk nonsense with me? That's because I'm smart. I didn't provoke you. Lei Bao smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang was helpless. He jumped up and sat on Lei Bao's back. Then, he looked at the island and said, let's go. Do you really think I'm a mount? Get off now, and I'll forgive you. Lei Bao said angrily. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and activated the slavery seal. Roar! Lei Bao immediately roared in pain. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, it's best if you don't challenge my patience again. Okay. I'll take you there, Lei Bao quickly begged for mercy. Qin Feiyang stopped operating the slavery seal, and the pain in Lei Bao's head immediately disappeared. What a fiend! Lei Bao exhaled with lingering fear, and said, I'll say it one last time, are you sure you want to go? There's a fake god on there. If we go there like this, it's no different from sending ourselves to our deaths. Go ahead, they won't be able to find us. Qin Feiyang said. Do you think they're blind? Lei Bao grumbled in dissatisfaction. He could only brace himself and soar into the air, flying towards the island. The sea breeze whistled and the waves surged. Qin Feiyang stared at the island, killing intent flashing in his eyes. Restrain your aura. Suddenly. Qin Feiyang said. As he spoke, his aura was instantly restrained to the extreme. Lei Bao was stunned and also withdrew his fierce aura. No matter what happens later, don't release your aura, and don't speak. If there's anything, send me a sound transmission. Chapter 1258. On the island. On the peak of a mountain, a red-haired old man stood at the edge of a cliff. He looked at the distant sea from time to time, sweeping his gaze across the surrounding mountains and rivers with a hint of hesitation in his eyes. That was right. He was Wang Yishan. Although it seemed like he was the only one on the massive mountain peak, there was a hidden killing intent. There were 11 people standing in the forest behind him. The leader was a white-haired old man in black robes. His expression was grim and his eyes were filled with a shocking viciousness. The other 10 people, both young and old, stood behind the white-haired old man and hid their auras, locking onto Wang Yishan like venomous snakes that were ready to strike. Apart from the 11 people, there were 2 more. The 2 of them, one in front and one behind, stood on the peak of a mountain opposite them. The former was a white-haired old man who looked like an immortal. However, there was a hint of viciousness hidden in his eyes. It was the imperial advisor. The latter was a middle-aged man. He stood behind the imperial tutor, wearing a purple-gold robe. His face was cold and stern, and his entire body exuded the aura of a superior. The 2 of them stood on the cliff as well, surrounded by bushes and weeds. Not only could they conceal their figures well, they could also see Wang Yishan's situation clearly. Time passed breath by breath. The middle-aged man retracted his gaze and looked at the imperial advisor. Patriarch, it's been a day. Why isn't he here yet? The imperial advisor shook his head. Back then, he was standing at the side when Wang Yishan sent a message to Qin Feiyang and Wang Yangfeng. Therefore, he heard Qin Feiyang say with his own ears that he would be here soon. However, he had not appeared even after waiting for a day. What the hell was this little bastard up to? The middle-aged man seemed to have thought of something and his expression changed slightly as he whispered, could he have seen through our plan? Seen through? Do you think he's really an immortal? He can predict with his fingers. The imperial advisor glared at him. The middle-aged man smiled embarrassedly. We did it so secretly. No matter how smart he is, there's no way he would have thought of it. Furthermore, we were watching from the side when Wang Yishan sent the message to them. It can be said that Wang Yishan's every move was flawless. How could he have seen through it? According to this old man's guess, he must have been delayed by something at the last minute. The imperial advisor pondered. Ancestor, you're right, but I don't understand. What's more important than his mother? The middle-aged man said. He could not directly refute the Grand Tutor's words, so he could only use this method to hint. In other words, for Qin Feiyang, nothing was more important than his mother's safety. Under normal circumstances, Qin Feiyang would definitely rush over as soon as he received the news. But now, an entire day had passed and he still hadn't come. There must be something fishy going on here. But the state preceptor didn't listen. This was because the plan this time was meticulously planned by him. Even if Qin Feiyang could see through the first part, there was still the second and third part. Therefore, he had full confidence in this plan and was fully confident that it would work. At this moment, Qin Feiyang and Lei Bao had already entered the island. Qin Feiyang's expression was calm, without the slightest hint of nervousness, but Lei Bao was extremely uneasy. Because it still didn't know that Qin Feiyang had already activated the concealment technique. So in its view, it was equivalent to breaking into the island without any concealment. What was the difference between this and courting death? If it wasn't for the slavery seal, it would have already slipped away. Soon, the giant peak where Wang Yishan was at entered Lei Bao's line of sight. It stopped in the void and transmitted its voice. The person you're looking for is on that mountain peak, but I advise you to think about it carefully. Do you really want to go there? Stop talking nonsense, hurry up. Qin Feiyang secretly shouted. Lei Bao quivered and could only bite the bullet and fly over. But in its heart, it kept muttering, can't see me, can't see me. Finally, a man and a beast came to the mountain peak. What's the situation? You really can't see me? Lei Bao was stunned. Wang Yishan was right below, but he didn't notice them at all. Where are the others? Qin Feiyang asked. Lei Bao said, there's a group in the forest behind us, and two on the opposite mountain peak. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at the opposite mountain peak, and transmitted his voice, let's go to the forest and take a look first. All right. Lei Bao nodded and looked at Wang Yishan. Was this old man blind? They were right above him, but he couldn't see them. It flew into the forest with a stomach full of doubts. The old man and his group immediately entered his line of sight. Qin Feiyang's pupils constricted. This lineup was truly terrifying. All 11 of them were 9-star War Emperor. You actually didn't notice? Are you all blind? Lei Bao was stunned. Finally, it mustered up its courage and carefully flew in front of the old man. Next, it was even more surprised. It and Qin Feiyang were clearly standing in front of the old man, but the old man didn't notice them at all. Not only the old man, the other 10 people also treated them as air and directly ignored them. Why is it like this? Lei Bao was puzzled, and suddenly thought of Qin Feiyang, and transmitted his voice, did you cast some magic? Magic? Qin Feiyang was slightly startled, looking at Lei Bao's puzzled look, he couldn't help but laugh. But he did not explain, and secretly said, let's go to the mountain peak on the other side to take a look. All right. Lei Bao was no longer tiptoeing like before, and boldly flew towards the mountain peak on the other side. Flying above the mountain peak, Qin Feiyang scanned the area below, and immediately saw the two of them in the bushes. As expected, there's an ambush here. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Strange, why can't even see the imperial tutor? Lei Bao was completely dumbfounded. The imperial tutor was a false god. His sensitivity and insight couldn't be so bad. What was going on? Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission. Are there only these people on this island? That's right. Lei Bao nodded. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. There were more than 1,000 war emperors who had lost contact, but there was only Wang Yishan here. What about the rest? Where are they now? Also, was the one controlling everyone the imperial tutor, or his descendant? If it was the latter, then it would be easier to deal with, just kill him. But if the imperial tutor was controlling Wang Yishan and the others, then it would be troublesome. Because the imperial tutor was a false god, with his current strength, it was far from enough to kill the imperial tutor. It seemed that he would have to find a helper. Then the problem came again. Who should he find? Furthermore, in order to kill the imperial tutor this time, he had to kill him in one strike. Otherwise, the imperial tutor could cripple Wang Yishan and the others' bloodline power at any time. But who had the ability to kill him in one strike? Lu Xingchen? Elder Qin? None of them seemed to work. In this world, the only ones who had the ability to do so were probably Yuan Bo and the snow python of Forgotten Continent. But Yuan Bo had already left. And that snow python had no reason to help him. Time passed in a flash. An hour was about to pass. Once an hour was up, the concealment technique would automatically disappear. However, Qin Feiyang still hadn't thought of a way. Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly, and sent a sound transmission, retreat first. Lei Bao thought, why should we retreat? They're blind anyway, so they can't see us. Blind? Qin Feiyang sneered, and sent a sound transmission, let me tell you, if you don't retreat now, you will die here immediately. It's that serious? Lei Bao was shocked, he immediately turned around and rushed towards the mountain stream below, entering a dense forest. Just as he entered the dense forest, the time for the concealment technique was up. Qin Feiyang jumped down and stood on top of a small hill. Using the dense leaves to hide his figure, he looked at the two giant peaks and felt rather annoyed. At the same time, Lei Bao looked at the two mountain peaks, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, it turned into a ray of light and flew out of the dense forest, once again flying towards the mountain peak where the imperial tutor was. Bastard, come back quickly. Qin Feiyang was startled. He hastily shouted in secret. However, Lei Bao turned a deaf ear to him, with eyes full of curiosity. He flew to the top of the mountain and landed in front of the two of them. But it didn't know that curiosity killed the cat. The two of them looked at each other, and a hint of surprise flashed across their eyes. There were actually berserk beasts that dared to approach? Why can't you see this emperor? Lei Bao, however, was unaware and began to wander around the two of them. Is there something wrong with his head? The two of them looked at each other. Why didn't he run when he saw them? This guy's guts are pretty big. That's not right. He doesn't look blind. Lei Bao wandered around and looked at the two of them suspiciously. He then stood up, raised his claws, and waved them in front of their eyes. Idiot! Qin Feiyang looked at this scene and immediately rolled his eyes. At the same time, the middle-aged man's face turned cold as he stared at Lei Bao and shouted, "Are you courting death? Holy shit! You can see this emperor?" Lei Bao was so scared that he quickly retreated a few steps. "You're right in front of me, and you still say that I can't see you? Are you fucking insulting my intelligence?" The middle-aged man was furious. Crap. Lei Bao's eyelids twitched, and he immediately turned around to escape. 10,000 doubts rose in his heart. Why couldn't he see him before, but now? Running away? The middle-aged man smiled coldly and shouted, "Kill that beast right now." The white-haired old man and the others hiding in the forest immediately rushed out and surrounded Lei Bao with surging Emperor's aura. What's going on? Lei Bao could not understand. No one could see him before, but now everyone could see him. He was also panicking. He did not care about the others, but the fake god, the imperial tutor, was like a towering mountain. Before he even made a move, he was already pressuring him to the point that he could not breathe. Wait! Just as the white-haired old man and the others were about to attack, the imperial tutor spoke. The 11 of them immediately stopped and retreated to the side respectfully. This emperor took the wrong path. Pretend that you didn't see me. Goodbye. Lei Bao said in a fluster before fleeing without looking back. However, at the same time, the white-haired old man and the others took a step forward and blocked in front of him, their eyes as cold as blades. This emperor really didn't mean to offend you. Lei Bao was completely flustered. The imperial tutor stepped forward and sized Lei Bao up. He smiled and said, "If this old man remembers correctly, you should be Lei Bao from the ancient pagoda, right?" "What ancient pagoda?" Lei Bao was confused and smiled obsequiously. "Old man, you must have recognized the wrong person." "Is that so?" The imperial tutor smiled playfully. "Yes, yes, yes." "What ancient pagoda?" "This emperor has never heard of it." Chapter 1259. At this moment, Qin Feiyang stood on the hillside, his brows tightly knitted together. At the same time, hearing Lei Bao's words, the imperial tutor's gaze immediately turned cold as he shouted, "Tell me, why are you here? Did Qin Feiyang send you here? Who is Qin Feiyang? What exactly are you talking about?" Lei Bao pretended to be calm and looked at the imperial tutor in confusion. His fierce eyes were filled with impatience. "Not going to say it?" The imperial tutor smiled sinisterly and said, "Don't worry, you will take the initiative to say it soon." Finished. The imperial tutor formed a seal with both hands. Blood soul technique. Lei Bao's expression changed. Although in the ancient tower, even the valley master did not dare to provoke it, as the emperor of all the beasts in the ancient tower, it still knew about the blood soul technique. It turned around and fled. However, the imperial tutor released a wisp of divine might and directly imprisoned it in the void. Following that, the blood soul technique swept into Lei Bao's body. All of this happened in an instant. Qin Feiyang wanted to rescue Lei Bao, but it was too late. Lei Bao immediately fell in the void and howled in pain. It was too late for regrets. Why didn't you listen to Qin Feiyang? Why did you run here to court death? However, after a few breaths, the imperial tutor's body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ancestor. The middle-aged man, the old man, and the others immediately surrounded him, their faces full of nervousness and concern. Good chance. Just as the imperial tutor spat out blood, Lei Bao felt the pain in his body suddenly disappear. He then turned into a bolt of lightning and fled without looking back. "Stop it!" the imperial tutor roared. The old man and the others immediately chased after Lei Bao. "You old fogies want to catch up to this emperor? You're overestimating yourselves." Lei Bao's disdainful laughter resounded through the sky. Why did he suddenly vomit blood? At the same time, Qin Feiyang looked at the imperial tutor in confusion and was about to enter the castle to support Lei Bao. But at this moment, the imperial tutor suddenly took out an image crystal. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He raised his head and saw the imperial preceptor looking down at the image crystal with a slight frown. The middle-aged man next to him glanced at the image crystal and asked, "Ancestor, who would send you a message at this time?" "I don't know." "Step aside," the imperial advisor said. "All right." The middle-aged man nodded and quickly retreated. The imperial preceptor raised his head and glanced at the fleeing Lei Bao. Taking a deep breath, he activated his quasi-divinity energy and activated the image crystal. Wang! A shadow appeared. It was a middle-aged man. He wore a dazzling dragon robe and a gorgeous dragon crown on his head. His entire body exuded an astonishing emperor's might. Without a doubt, this person was the current emperor. "Greetings, Your Majesty." The Grand Preceptor's pupils shrank as he hurriedly bowed. "Where?" the emperor asked. The Imperial Preceptor replied, "I'm dealing with some matters in the Sea of Reincarnation." "Qin Feiyang?" the emperor asked. The State Preceptor nodded. The emperor said expressionlessly, "Put aside Qin Feiyang's matter for now and return to the Imperial Palace immediately." "What's so urgent?" The Imperial Preceptor was surprised. The emperor said, "Lu family's second grandpa is here. He specifically asked to see you." "What?" The Imperial Preceptor's expression changed, hurriedly asked, "What is he here for?" The emperor shook his head, "I'm not sure. Just come back immediately." Saying so, the emperor's shadow disappeared. The Imperial Preceptor put away the image crystal and frowned. The middle-aged man walked in front of the Imperial Preceptor and whispered, "Ancestor, we were just about to deal with Qin Feiyang when that old thing went to the Imperial Palace to find you. This can't be a coincidence, right? How can there be so many coincidences in this world? He must have received news and secretly wanted to help Qin Feiyang." The Imperial Preceptor sneered. The middle-aged man asked, "Then are you going or not?" The Imperial Preceptor said in a low voice, "His Majesty has already spoken. How can this old man dare to not go?" "Then this place," the middle-aged man said. "Lei Bao's appearance is definitely suspicious. Call everyone back immediately, and then take Wang Yishan back. Remember, before I come back, don't act rashly. Qin Feiyang is not someone you can deal with." After the Imperial Preceptor said that, he opened a portal and strode in. The middle-aged man looked at the Imperial Preceptor's back and shouted across the air, "Elder Wu, the Ancestor has ordered you to stop chasing and come back quickly." As soon as he finished speaking, the portal dissipated. Second Grandpa, Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. It turned out that Lu Jing really went back to find someone to help. "Cousin, thank you," Qin Feiyang muttered, then entered the castle, drove the castle, and rushed toward Wang Yishan at the top of the mountain. Whoosh! Outside, accompanied by the sound of air being torn, the white-haired old man and his group cut through the sky and landed in front of the middle-aged man like lightning. "Patriarch, what's going on? Why did you suddenly stop chasing? Where's the Ancestor? Why is he gone?" The 11 people looked at the middle-aged man in surprise. The middle-aged man said, "The Lu family's second grandpa went to the Imperial Palace, and the Ancestor was called back by His Majesty." "What? Has the Lu family started to act?" The white-haired old man was shocked. "Act? Humph, do they have the guts now? They're just a bunch of clowns." The middle-aged man smiled disdainfully and said, "Take Wang Yishan back first. As for dealing with Qin Feiyang, we'll talk about it later." The 11 people nodded. Whoosh! The 12 people immediately flew toward Wang Yishan. Whoosh! But at this moment, a person suddenly appeared in front of Wang Yishan who was standing at the edge of the cliff. The group of people stopped in their tracks and looked over in surprise. When they saw that face clearly, their faces changed color. "Qin Feiyang." The middle-aged man said word by word, his eyes filled with killing intent. "That's right, it's me." Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people, his eyes filled with bone-piercing killing intent. "When did you come?" The middle-aged man said gloomily. "I came with Lei Bao." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand, and Wang Yangfeng and the other 17 nine-star combat emperors appeared behind him. Seeing so many people, the middle-aged man and his group immediately panicked. You used Wang Yishan to set up a killing trap here to lure me here. You thought it was flawless, but in fact, I saw through it long ago. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people and sneered. The middle-aged man's heart trembled. As the ancestor had said, this man was not ordinary. Qin Feiyang suddenly turned around and looked at Wang Yangfeng and the others, saying, "The Grand Tutor has left. This is your home ground, go ahead and kill." "Yes." The 17 people responded respectfully. Hearing this, the middle-aged man's face turned pale and he roared, "Split up and run." Immediately, the 12 of them scattered and fled in different directions. "Leave no one alive." Qin Feiyang roared. "Kill." Wang Yangfeng and the others roared in unison, shaking the heavens and the earth. Then, they immediately scattered and chased after the middle-aged man and the others with monstrous killing intent. "Huh, did it feel good to chase after me just now?" At this moment, a wild laugh rang out. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw Lei Bao returning. Coincidentally, the direction that the white-haired old man fled in was also the direction of Lei Bao. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Without saying a word, Lei Bao directly activated the power of thunder and pounced towards the white-haired old man. However, the white-haired old man did not dare to meet it head-on. Because behind him, Wang Yangfeng was chasing after him. There was a tiger in front and a wolf behind. How would the white-haired old man dare to fight? He turned around and fled in another direction. "You still want to escape in front of me? Eye of the Thunder God." Lei Bao smiled contemptuously, and a bright purple lightning suddenly appeared behind him. Inside that purple lightning, there was an eye floating. That eye was the size of an adult's fist. The massive eyeball seemed like it was condensed from divine thunder as it flashed with lightning and exuded an immense might. "What's that?" The moment the eye appeared, be it the white-haired old man or Wang Yangfeng, both of them felt an immense sense of danger. Wang Yangfeng retreated immediately. "Old fart, let's see if you're faster than my battle soul." Lei Bao stood up with contempt in his eyes. Waving his thick claws, the eye of the Thunder God trembled in the air and turned into a divine light that shot towards the white-haired old man. So fast. Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Given his current cultivation, he could not capture the traces of the eye of the Thunder God streaking through the void. That speed could not be described with the word fast. It was unprecedented. In the blink of an eye, the eye of the Thunder God caught up to the white-haired old man. The surging power of thunder exuded an apocalyptic aura. The white-haired old man was shocked. This bastard was too ridiculously strong, wasn't he? Roar! He did not dare to hesitate and immediately activated his battle soul. His battle soul was a black tiger that was a few hundred meters long. It was like a mountain with a terrifying might that could topple mountains and overturn seas. However, under the bombardment of the power of thunder, the black tiger could not resist at all. It instantly let out a wail and collapsed. Immediately. The eye of the Thunder God was like an arrow that penetrated the white-haired old man's glabella. The white-haired old man's head exploded on the spot and blood splattered across the sky. So powerful. Looking at this scene, Wang Yangfeng's eyes trembled and his old face was filled with horror. A 9-star combat emperor was killed by Lei Bao in an instant? Qin Feiyang was also dumbfounded by what he saw. That guy's strength had far exceeded his imagination. Now that he recalled the battle in the ancient pagoda, he could not help but break out in cold sweat. If Lei Bao had not suppressed his cultivation at that time, or if he had suddenly given up on suppressing his cultivation, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Such a small fry dares to chase after me. You really don't know what's good for you. Lei Bao looked at the white-haired old man's corpse with contempt, then looked at Wang Yongfeng and said, "What are you waiting for? Why aren't you going to help?" "All right." Wang Yongfeng quivered and hurriedly nodded in response, then chased after the others. He. You chased after me just now. Now, I'm going to make you despair." Lei Bao scanned the surroundings, smiled sinisterly, and charged towards an old woman. Seeing this, a trace of panic immediately crept onto the old woman's face because she had seen with her own eyes when Lei Bao killed the white-haired old man in an instant. "Wait." But then, Qin Feiyang shouted. "What are you doing? Can't you see that I'm busy?" Chapter 1260. Qin Feiyang frowned, and said, "Come here for a moment, I have something to ask you." Although this fellow was very strong, he was arrogant by nature. In a short period of time, it was difficult to truly tame him. Lei Bao reluctantly flew in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang asked, "When the imperial tutor used the blood-soul technique to control you, why did he vomit blood instead?" "I don't know." Lei Bao shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "Then were you controlled by him?" "No." Lei Bao shook his head again. "No?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. The imperial tutor was a fake god, and Lei Bao was a 9-star war emperor. How could the blood-soul technique fail? Then when the imperial tutor controlled you just now, was there anything abnormal in your body? Qin Feiyang asked. Abnormal? Lei Bao was slightly startled, and lowered his head to carefully recall. A moment later, he raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang, and said, "When I was controlled by the blood-soul technique, there seemed to be some reaction in my sea of consciousness, but because it was too painful, I didn't pay much attention to it." Sea of consciousness? Qin Feiyang frowned. Could it be that there was something in Lei Bao's sea of consciousness that was protecting him? He raised his head to look at Lei Bao's head, and said, "Can you let me take a look?" "How? Split open this emperor's head?" Lei Bao immediately retreated, and looked at Qin Feiyang warily. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. Lei Bao said, "This emperor can tell you very responsibly, in this emperor's sea of consciousness, other than your slave seal, there is nothing else." Slave seal. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. Could it be because of the slave seal? Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at Lei Bao, and laughed, "Go and help everyone, but remember to leave that middle-aged man alive." "Leave him alive," Lei Bao muttered and looked at the middle-aged man. With the death of the white-haired old man, there were only 10 of the imperial tutor's descendants left. On Qin Feiyang's side, including Lei Bao, there were a total of 18 9-star war emperors. Be it quantity or quality, they had an absolute advantage. "Keep him alive, I'm going to kill him." Lei Bao stared at the middle-aged man and smiled savagely. Then, he charged at the middle-aged man with a terrifying aura. "Greetings, young master." After Lei Bao left, Wang Yishan respectfully saluted Qin Feiyang. "No need to be so polite. This time, I really have to thank you properly. If you hadn't hinted to us, I'm afraid we would have all been wiped out." Qin Feiyang turned to look at him and said with a smile, "This is what I should do." Wang Yishan said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will save everyone else." Wang Yishan nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, "Who is controlling you this time?" "The imperial advisor himself." Wang Yishan said. "That's great." Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief. "That's fine." Wang Yishan didn't understand. Being controlled by the imperial advisor meant that he had to kill the imperial advisor to regain his freedom. And the imperial advisor was so strong. Who could kill him? Originally, I was worried that you would be controlled by the Imperial Advisor because it's too difficult to kill him. But now, I'm not worried at all because I have found a way to break the blood-soul technique. Qin Feiyang said. What is it? Wang Yishan was surprised. You saw Lei Bao's situation before. I think it should be the slave seal that helped him block the control of the blood-soul technique. Qin Feiyang said. Can the slave seal work? Wang Yishan was surprised. Whether it works or not, we'll know once we try. Qin Feiyang placed his hands in front of his chest and formed a seal. A slave seal quickly appeared. If the slave seal could really do it, then it would definitely be able to break the blood-soul technique in Wang Yishan's body. Wang Yishan looked forward to it. But suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something and quickly grabbed Qin Feiyang's hand, saying, Wait. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang looked at him in confusion. If the slave seal can really break the blood-soul technique, then the Imperial Advisor will sense it immediately. This person is ruthless. If he senses that someone has broken the blood-soul technique, he might go all the way and immediately cripple the bloodline power of the others. Wang Yishan said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang frowned. He really did not consider this point. Young master, in my opinion, don't be in a hurry to help me break the blood-soul technique. Wait until we save the others. Anyway, this blood-soul technique is not as good as your slave seal. It can't peek into my inner thoughts. Now that the Imperial Advisor is in the Imperial Palace, as long as we don't give his descendants a chance to leak the news, he will never know what happened here. Wang Yishan said. Makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. Buzz. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's image crystal rang. He quickly took it out. An illusory figure quickly appeared. It was Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng said, the Imperial Advisor has returned to the Imperial Palace and is playing chess with Second Grandpa. Act immediately. No matter what, you have to save Aunt. Qin Feiyang said, I've already acted. So fast? Lu Zheng was surprised. It's a long story. You just have to remember, you must delay the Imperial Advisor. Before you receive my message, don't let him out of your sight. Qin Feiyang said. No problem. Lu Zheng nodded, and the shadow dissipated. Qin Feiyang put away the image crystal, looked at Wang Yishan, and asked, Do you know where their nest is? No. After I was caught by the Imperial Advisor, I have been here, and the others were sent away by the portal. Wang Yishan shook his head. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Since you are not bound by the blood-soul technique now, go and help. Okay. Wang Yishan turned his head and glanced at the battlefield, then turned into a stream of light and rushed toward a white-haired old woman. The middle-aged man and his group had been restrained by Wang Yangfeng and the others. Rumble. Crack. The sound of battle resounded through the sky and earth. The battle was extremely fierce. The island had been destroyed, and huge waves surged. Qin Feiyang glanced at them one by one, and the word, kill, suddenly appeared between his eyebrows. Then, he turned into a blood light and rushed into the sea. This time, he not only wanted to save his mother and the people in the village, but also kill all the descendants of the Imperial Advisor. At the same time, the Imperial Palace. In the Imperial Garden, a white-haired old man in sackcloth sat in a pavilion with an ancient wooden crutch beside him. That's right. The old man was Second Grandpa. The state preceptor sat opposite Second Grandpa. Lu Zheng stood behind Second Grandpa. The current emperor sat on the main seat between Second Grandpa and the Imperial Advisor. In the middle, there was a jade table with a chessboard on it. Second Grandpa played the white chess, and the Imperial Advisor played the black chess. Neither of them spoke. Their expressions were also very indifferent. However, every chess piece that was placed on the board carried with it a shocking murderous aura. At this moment, the chessboard was like a battlefield. The black and white chess pieces were like numerous soldiers that fought back and forth, and it was difficult to determine who was the victor. Lu Zheng and the emperor just watched in silence. At the entrance of the imperial garden, the commander of the Kirin army strode over. "Greetings, commander." The 4 Kirin army soldiers guarding the door bowed. "Yes." The commander of the Kirin army nodded, looked up at the 4 people in the pavilion, and asked in a low voice, "What are they doing?" "Playing chess." One of the Kirin army soldiers said. "Playing chess?" The commander of the Kirin army frowned. "They came all the way here just to play chess with the imperial advisor?" What was this old man thinking? He stepped into the imperial garden, but his footsteps were very light and did not make any sound. Soon, he entered the pavilion and bowed to the emperor. The emperor looked up at him, did not say anything, and continued to look down at the chessboard. The commander of the Kirin army walked behind the emperor and stood respectfully. Then, he looked at the chessboard, and his pupils immediately shrank. This chessboard was full of murderous intent. Rather than saying that the 2 of them were playing chess, it would be more accurate to say that this was a game between 2 fake gods, an invisible battle. The Sea of Reincarnation. Blood splattered and dyed the sky. A terrifying murderous aura shrouded the sea. Splash! After some time, the sea exploded, and a blood-red figure rushed into the sky. It was a young man in blood-red clothes. His blood-red hair danced in the wind, and his blood-red eyes shone brightly. He was like a god of death, and his murderous aura soared into the sky. That's right. He was Qin Feiyang. But at this moment, it was the inner demons who were controlling this body. He, the inner demons smiled ferociously, looked up at Wang Yangfeng and the others, and licked his lips with a bloodthirsty look in his eyes. At this moment, there were only 5 descendants of the state preceptor left. They were 2 old women, 2 old men, and the middle-aged man. As for Wang Yangfeng and the others, although they had different degrees of injuries, they did not lose a single person. Everyone was merciless, and they crazily attacked the 2 old men and the old woman. For thousands of years, they had suffered under the control of the state preceptor, the first valley master, and the second valley master. They did not know how much pain and torture they had suffered. The anger in their hearts had accumulated for thousands of years. Therefore, they wanted to vent. Faced with everyone's anger, the 2 old men and the old woman, without exception, were all covered in wounds and looked miserable. However, when they saw the middle-aged man, the inner demons' blood-red eyes revealed a trace of surprise. The middle-aged man's opponent was Lei Bao. Lei Bao's strength was obvious to all. But at this moment, Lei Bao was being defeated by the middle-aged man. Not only was he covered in wounds, but there was also a fatal wound on his back. It was so deep that his bones could be seen. On the other hand, although the middle-aged man was also injured, he did not look weak at all. Interesting, the inner demons murmured. It seemed that he had underestimated this descendant of the state preceptor. Soon. Accompanied by a series of screams, the 2 old men and the old woman died one after another in the hands of Wang Yangfeng and the others, and they were buried in the sea. Whoosh! Without any pause, the group of people charged toward the middle-aged man again. Every single one of them was murderous. Seeing this, the middle-aged man's eyes darkened slightly. He sent Lei Bao flying with a palm strike, and immediately placed his hands in front of his chest to form a seal. Boom! The next moment, a crescent-shaped black mark condensed. The middle-aged man waved his hands, and the black mark rose into the air, constantly expanding. Finally, it turned into a black moon, releasing a shocking divine power. Divine art? The inner demons was stunned, and a look of realization appeared on his face. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.